This boy was born wanting to die, because he's been alive for billions of years. He used to be a fish in the lake. He's been a giant dinosaur, even an erupting volcano, and elephants hunted by humans. After hundreds of millions of reincarnations, he's too tired. He kept all his memories. For him, living is pain. But luckily, in this life, he had a mother who loved him very much. For the first time, he has a name, Li Ziren. The woman's name is Wu Yingshi. Lost her parents in the war. Soon after, lost her husband to another war. The world was too cruel for her. But it's a good thing she has Ziren. Ziren is her salvation. I'm going to live no matter what. He's 6 years old now, since he was born. Ziren has never spoken a word, but Yingshi still hasn't given up on him. She carries Ziren on her back every morning to sell vegetables at the market. At night, she pats Ziren to sleep. Yingshi smiles all the time and says to the unresponsive Ziren, "I love you." Ziren doesn't understand what she's saying though, but the feeling that comes through is warm. He didn't hate it. In this life, Ziren clearly feels that his body is different from his previous life. Waiting for his mother to fall asleep, he came out into the wilderness. He wanted to test his bodily functions. It just so happens that a police officer is in pursuit of the culprit. Just as the men were about to take the prisoner back, the lead man notices Ziren on the stake. He froze for a moment. He motioned for Ziren to come down. The boy takes a leap and jumps straight to the ground. He knew that it was the frog's ability. Immediately afterward, he leans down to build up his strength. He rushes towards the man like lightning. This is the cheetah's power. He raises his fist when he comes to the man. He blows one of them away. This is the power of the Argentine dragon. Ziren clearly feels. He has the powers of every life form he's ever experienced, and realizes that this will be his last life. Just as he was lost in thought, the man behind him had clenched his fists. He loudly questions who the boy really is. Ziren doesn't answer, just turns his head and smiles. He knew he could finally die. The captain sees this and attacks him directly. Ziren is sent flying to the ground. He slowly stands up and touches the wound. He found that if he was not conscious, the body's functions became normal. After giving the man a cold look, he prepares to simply leave. The man throws another punch. A punch lands hard on Ziren's head. The arm is broken instead. He turned his body into a turtle. Watching the screaming man, he's got his hands around the man's neck. Just as he was about to strangle the man, a bullet came through his abdomen. Ziren falls to the ground. And Yingshi, who realizes her child is missing, is crying out and looking around. The boy's desire to live is to die. Because of the billions of years of reincarnation, he was too tired. The memories of each life intertwined in his mind, leaving him wondering what he really is. As the bullet penetrated his abdomen, Ziren, who had fallen to the ground, had nothing but joy in his heart and a hint of resignation. Just when he was ready to accept death, once again, the gods played a joke on him. Just saw his body squirming. I don't know how long it's been. Broken organs, penetrating wounds healed. He rolled straight over, a mouthful of old phlegm spitting out of his mouth. Ziren wipes her mouth after spitting. A look of disappointment on his face. He survived because of the sea cucumber's powers. He got up and looked at the wound. Taking one more look into the distance, he has a decision in mind. But just then, Ziren heard a voice calling out to him. He froze slightly for a second, then turned and walked the other way. Being a human being for the first time, he didn't know what feelings were. All he knows is that he can support himself. There's no point in staying with that guy. At this point, Yingshi felt like his world had collapsed. Unable to find her son, she cries out in despair. But the boy doesn't stop, and so, 4 days passed. Ziren walks weakly through the forest, unable to even stand. There was a thud, and he fell to the ground. At the moment, he felt a heat all over his body. It's like he's in a vortex. He thought there was something wrong with the food he was eating, completely unaware that he was sick. Just when he was ready to accept death with open arms, there's a rustling sound in the jungle in the distance. A dirty woman appeared in front of him. Yingshi looks at his fallen son. She rushes at him like a madman. She takes Ziren in her arms. Hold him tight. Afraid he'll disappear again. Feeling the warmth, Ziren feels a little more energized. Watching Yingshi crying in pain, Ziren suddenly speaks up. Then you cry. Your Ziren wants you to smile and say I love you. Yingshi's eyes widen in shock. It's the first time she's heard her son speak in 6 years. Countless grievances come to mind. She hugged Ziren again and cried, crying harder than before. Feeling the warmth of a woman, a sudden flicker of emotion in Ziren's eyes, he decides to stay. But what he doesn't realize is that he's been targeted by someone else. The captain of the police department who survived. As for the child the inmates are talking about, he denied the existence of the child directly to his co-workers, because he had a crazy plan in mind. And so the days went by, but since getting Ziren back, Inshur holds his hand wherever he goes, afraid he'll get lost again. Inshur's love for him is so overwhelming. Whether it's being bullied at school, or hearing someone gossip about your son, she wouldn't hesitate to stand up for her son. Zirin knows that Inshur is only good for him, and Inshur fights everything in the world while caring for his son. That's how hard it is to be a mom. Slowly, Zirin familiarizes himself with the human body and way of life. Looking at the warm and tender woman in front of him, he didn't want to leave. Inshur's hands are rough but warm. He wants to go all the way with this woman, at least in Inshur's life. He once asked Inshur, "Why do you fight every day?" Inshur smiled and replied, "To guard the..." But the more important something is, the harder it is to guard, because to gain may mean to lose. The boy has been reincarnated a billion times. Each life has been a wish for death, but in this life he doesn't want to die. Because this gentle, tender woman came into his world, Inshur changed his beastly existence, adapting Zirin to human life. And just like that, another 6 years. The boy is 12 years old. In 6 years, the town has changed dramatically. The streets got wider, the buildings got taller, factories have appeared along the creek in front of Zirin's house. He doesn't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but Inshur is sick. Look at the weak mom. The boy lowers his head in darkness. Regret not stopping her from eating that thing. Inshur made Zirin a fish that day, but he instinctively spit it out just as soon as it was in his mouth. He doesn't know what the problem is. Inshur sees her son not eating the fish she worked so hard to catch. She ate it all in a huff. She's been sick ever since. Zirin thoughtfully changed Inshur's wet towel. She struggles to squeeze out a smile, telling her son not to worry. Seeing Zirin suddenly get up, Inshur weakly asks if he is going to school. He doesn't want Inshur to worry, so he nods his head. The woman smiled with all her strength and told her son to take care of himself. Zirin, who left, didn't go to school. Instead, he went out on the street and sold apples. Suddenly, a man came to him. Taking a bite out of an apple, he asks Zirin how much it is. What should come is finally here. The corners of the man's mouth turned up slightly. "I was going to arrest you before, but I wanted to see how monsters grow." Then asked Zirin why he was mimicking a human. Zirin looks indifferent and doesn't say anything. Captain saw this. He had his men handcuff him. Looking sinisterly at the boy, "I've sent for your mom now. I heard she's not in good health." Zirin finally reacts to hearing this. He builds up the strength to break free of the cuffs. He's out of the crowd in a flash. He's running like a madman to his house. The captain sees this and smiles with a grin of triumph on his face. He doesn't know what kind of disaster he's going to bring upon the world. Zirin crosses the stream, over the forest, finally arrived at the overcrowded door of the house. The man at the head of the group looks to Zirin. "Are you a child of this family?" Zirin nodded, confirming that the boy is the target. Several people are in front of him in an instant, ready to take Zirin away. The door to the room suddenly opens. Inshur, hearing the commotion, sits weakly in the doorway. Ask what happened. Suddenly, she saw her son in the distance being held down by a man's shoulder, and even heard them trying to take him away. Inshur was shocked. Shuddering, she rose to her feet, shaking and running to Zirin to get them to let go of their son. Looking at one of the menacing, she suddenly shouted, "Neighbors, there's kidnapper here." The man tries to stop but is pushed away. Seeing Inshur trying to yell, the man's backhand is a slap in the face. A weak Inshur is slapped to the ground. Zirin, who had been maintaining his sanity, suddenly angry at this moment. In a matter of seconds, everyone present went to hell. Inshur looks at his son in shock. Inshur calls out from a distance, "Oh Zirin." The boy turned around at the sound of the voice and looked at the woman who was about to cry. He knows he's in trouble again. But what was his fault? He simply wanted to protect Inshur. And that's when it happened. There's the sound of a car behind him. The captain looks at the bodies on the ground without a trace of sadness. Instead, he had a smile on his face, turning his head to look at the crew. "How about that? I told you he was a monster." Hearing those two words, the boy clenched his fists once again, but a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The boy wants to cut out his own heart, because the whole of his life fell in front of him. Inshur is dead. Zirin wants to go with her mom, but then he thought of mom's dying wish. He gets up and takes a reluctant look at Inshur after. With a clench of his teeth, he turns and runs in the other direction. The captain sees this and thinks Zirin has weakened, but actually, he's just picking out a good grave for them. The captain immediately took his men and drove after them. The reason he was in hot pursuit of Zirin, it's because of human arrogance and curiosity about the unknown. They chased them all the way to the wildflower field. See Zirin stop in front of the car. The captain froze at first, then he laughed and got out of the car. "You're running. Why don't you run?" Zirin doesn't seem to hear him, raising his hands to cover his eyes. "I'm sorry for the people I killed earlier, for the people I killed today, and for those of you who will die now. They must all have moms, right? They're all loved. Just like me." I have made mistakes though, but what about you guys? Endlessly killing, destroying, even destroying everything. Seeing Zirin in this god-awful state of mind, the team is trying to get up there to stop him, but he was stopped by the captain. Zirin looks up at the sky with an expressionless face. I've always had a question. Why did I come here with the power of 10,000 reincarnations? Now I know. I exist to destroy all of you. Just finished speaking. Zirin leaps 1,000 meters into the air, falling like a cannonball. The people on the ground are frozen. Before they could react, the car crashed and people died. All that's left is the captain under the boulder. Zirin gives him a cold look. Slowly, he walks up to him and says, "Why did you come to mess with me? Why did you kill Ingshur?" He then crouches down and extends his right hand to build up his strength. There was a bang, and bright red liquid gushed out. After taking care of the man, Zirin finds Mom's body. Hold her, walk and walk. He doesn't know how long he's been walking. Maybe he's tired. It was as if he heard the words his mother had told him tens of thousands of times. Zirin speaks in a low voice, "I love you too." The boy loses all hope of living, because all of his life fell before him. Ingshur is dead. Zirin wants to go with her mom, but was stopped by her mother with her last breath. Ingshur wanted him to live. Zirin has lived up to her mother's wishes. After sending his enemies to hell, he's holding his mom's body. Lonely, he leaves this place of joy and sadness. Zirin spends these 12 years with mother. Compared to the billions of years, it's just a short moment. But this moment, it made him feel so much love and so much happiness. But there was no mom after that. Zirin has nothing but pain in her heart. All that's left are mom's words, live. That's it. Zirin wanders aimlessly with her mother's dying wish, not realizing it's already winter. In the woods, a man is carefully eyeing a pheasant in the distance. He raises his shotgun and takes aim at it. Before the pheasant senses anything unusual, he pulls the trigger and sends the pheasant to heaven. Just as he's happy to pick up the loot, a child appears out of nowhere. Seeing that the boy is dressed in rags and thin, like a little beggar, the man immediately approached and asked him what family he was from. Zirin doesn't answer. Instead, he stares expressionlessly at the pheasant at his feet. The man didn't care. He lifted the pheasant and shook it. "How's that? It's fat, isn't it?" A cold light flashed in Zirin's eyes when she heard that. Power slowly gathered in the palm of his hand. Just as he was about to kill the man, instead, the man suddenly asks, "Where are your parents?" The simple question struck a chord in Zirin's heart. He couldn't help but bow his head and say, "Dead." The man heard this answer. Not a word of comfort is spoken. He took off his coat and draped it over Zirin, tenderly tidying him up. "It's winter and you're still wearing short sleeves. Aren't you cold?" Zirin looks at the man in surprise. No one but his mother had ever cared for him so much. Men don't care. Takes his hand and heads for home. A flash of human emotion appears in Zirin's eyes once more. Soon, the two come to a room. The man happily greeted his mom standing in front of the house. The three men enter the house. A plate of tender chicken soon appears in front of them. Zirin looks at the food on the table for a long time. A sudden sound catches his attention. The man saw it and explained, "That's the sound of the construction site next door." But Zirin has a bad feeling about this. Seeing Zirin scowling, the man then asked him how he got to this place. Zirin picks up his chopsticks, just walking, and then he picked up a piece of meat and brought it to his mouth. The man froze right in his tracks at the indifferent look on his face. Reaching out, he hit him in the head. Zirin is also a bit confused by the sudden contact. The man smiled and withdrew his hand, saying, "You child, follow me to the city tomorrow. I'll check with the governor. See if there's a family you can trust. You have to go to school." Hearing this man's words of concern, Zirin's eyes widen in surprise. The time is quickly approaching evening, but Zirin couldn't sleep. It's been too long since he's felt warmth. Early the next morning, the uncle then took out his coat and put it on Zirin. He then thoughtfully rolls up his extra pants legs. Looking at this gentleman, Zirin's mood grows complicated. After everything is done, Uncle smiles and says goodbye to his mom, but that goodbye was forever. On the way to the market, Zirin looked at the uncle suspiciously. "Why doesn't Mom speak?" Zirin, who was silent, suddenly spoke. Uncle froze for a moment. Reaching out, he rubbed his hair fiercely, smiled and glanced at Zirin. "Mom is not silent. It's that she can't speak or hear." Zirin glances at the older man with her afterimage. "Why are you talking to her when she can't hear you?" Uncle paused for a moment and said, "Even though she can't speak, she needs to know. As long as it conveys our feelings, that's all that matters." While they were talking, it suddenly started raining. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. Uncle rushes to take Zirin into his arms, looking around for a place to get out of the rain. Soon he sees a cave in the distance. Uncle takes Zirin's hand and prepares to go to the cave to get out of the rain. But he doesn't notice at all. Above the cave is the construction site for the resort. Just see a tree stump wobble. Suddenly countless gravels slanted down. A mudslide erupted instantly and crushed the uncle in the cave underneath it. Pushed to the ground, Zirin immediately runs towards the crushed uncle, fighting to dig through the wood chips and debris on him. The uncle breathes heavily. What to do? Zirin looks at him immediately. Wait, I'll get you out of here. But the uncle spoke again. I can't die, Mom. Zirin freezes for a moment. Turns out he didn't mean himself when he said what to do. He worries about how his mom will live afterward if he dies. But God is so unfair. The gentle uncle closed his eyes forever. Zirin stops moving her hands. Looking up at the mountain overhead, the place where the construction is above seems to be a resort. He's digging up the uncle. Carry him back. But he looks up before he gets very far, then bowed his head in silence. Turns out it was the grandmother who came to the two with her umbrella. The grandmother looks at her son on Zirin's back. The umbrella in her hand falls to the ground. The gray hairs send off the black hairs. Zirin back at Uncle's house sits alone on the doorstep after doing some work, thinking back to the people he killed. He thinks he should be relieved. But he's bitter now. He doesn't know what's right. Suddenly, he thinks of Ingshir's quote. Life is like a blank test paper. You should answer the question even if you don't know the correct solution. Zirin seems to have an answer in mind. On the day of the resort's ribbon cutting, a child walks slowly towards the happy crowd. The man in charge is stunned, a puzzled look on his face. He thinks to himself, how did a kid get past the guards? But he doesn't think much of it. He ordered his men to go down and drive Zirin away. But he's just getting close to Zirin. He saw the body behind him. The man was paralyzed with fear. Zirin walks up to him with no expression on her face. I won't hesitate any longer. You can all go to hell. That seems to be my answer. The boy just moved his finger and killed thousands of people, but he didn't think it was enough. Zirin wants to destroy the world, because of human injustice and the destruction of the environment. Mommy's dead. Even the mother and son who gave him a glimmer of warmth. They're all gone. Zirin no longer has the light in his eyes. He was alone with his thoughts for a long time. He realized that to reach his goal, he must have a profound mastery of his own power. Though he is capable of being everything, but without consciousness, it's just a human body. And so, Zirin spent a year in constant experimentation. That day he came to the train tracks. He was staring at the train as it sped by. The driver looks at the sudden appearance of the teenager and simply freezes in his tracks. But it's too late to stop. Zirin is knocked dozens of meters into the air. But when the driver stops the train and anxiously gets out to check, but there was nothing in front of the train. It makes him wonder if he's met a ghost. Unbeknownst to him, Zirin had long since left orbit. Tested, he felt that his body could reach the strength of the hatshell teeth even when he was unconscious, but he knew it wasn't enough. In the time to come, Zirin has learned to communicate with all life forms, not simply verbal communication, rather, it's a psychic sensation. Time continues to pass and Zirin comes of age. He feels his body entering its peak, so he used the turtle's ability. Keep this period for a long time. 30 years pass quietly. The industry continues to grow. Growing pollution. But Zirin's appearance hasn't changed a bit. During this time, Zirin learns to communicate with everything. Water, plants, even the earth. But he clearly sensed that the earth was sick. It was slowly dying. Slowly Zirin is mastering all of his abilities. He can even synthesize his abilities. He thinks it's time to end this. A 60-year-old boy wants to destroy the world. Because the mom who once gave him warmth, the strange man who gave him a ray of light in his despair, all die because of the world. In Zirin's eyes, destruction means redemption. Just as he was about to send heat into the ground, using his own power to apply pressure, triggering repeated earthquakes to destroy the world, Zirin suddenly hesitates. He thought of something other than humans. And he himself had been alone for decades. There's no rush, even for destruction. He wanted to see the world of Ingshir and Uncle again. Zirin lowers his power-stored hands, heading for the human world. After traveling, he found that the sea, the mountains, the desert, the islands, there is no place beyond the reach of man. Even the paths that were once filled with the scent of flowers. It's become a cold road. Zirin stops dead in his tracks. He thinks it's time for destruction. Suddenly, a car sped toward him. A distant roar annoys Zirin even more. Huge amounts of energy instantly pour out of him. He slowly walks towards the approaching car, trying to destroy that nasty thing. As the vehicle approaches, the woman driving the car also notices Zirin's presence. She panics and steers to avoid it. But it's too close to avoid. But as the vehicle is about to hit Zirin, he froze in his tracks, because the woman in the car looked so much like the gentle Ingshir. Meanwhile, a boulder suddenly rolled down the hill. It's about to hit the roof of the car. Returning to his senses, Zirin strikes instantly, shattering the boulder with a single punch. The woman's eyes were closed and she was trembling with fear. The woman slowly opens one of her eyes in relief. Ziren's head came out of nowhere. Look at the boy with the long hair and blue eyes. The woman thought she'd met a ghost. She screamed in terror. The loud noise drew a boulder directly. It hits Ziren hard. The pain instantly spreads throughout his body. The woman sees this and hits the gas, throwing Ziren a few dozen meters. The fallen Ziren can't figure it out. The body is able to maintain its strength even when it is unconscious. But why does it still hurt? Until the woman ran up to him anxiously, showing a nervous expression. Ziren figured out the reasoning behind it. With his eyes slowly closing, a long-lost feeling comes over me. But once again, the gods played a joke on him. Ziren opens his eyes, looking at strange surroundings and strange people, rising instantly and surveying the surroundings. The nurse lady sees Ziren waking up. Ask him his name and home address immediately. Ziren rubs his head, a confused look on his face. Both of them froze for a moment as well when they saw this expression on his face. In that moment, Ziren actually forgot his name, until the woman came to his mind. Ziren woke up with a start. He looked at the two men and said, word for word, "My name is Lee Ziren." This comatose man suddenly wakes up. To his surprise, he realizes he's lost all his memories except for his name. Even the gentle woman only vaguely flashed through his mind. And that's when the attending physician arrived. Looking at Ziren in her hospital bed, his address unknown, his identity unknown, his memory lost. He can only look to Ajin. Ajin rolls his eyes helplessly. For the next 3 months, they looked up people in the 20 to 40 age group. Couldn't find out anything about Ziren. Even the security cameras in the area where he was injured didn't pick up any images of him. Ajin sighed heavily. She's heard the same thing 1,000 times. Ajin asked again what to do. The staff member smiles awkwardly after carefully analyzing Ziren's situation. It might be better if he had a guardian. Ajin didn't react for a moment. It wasn't until she repeated it a few times that she realized what the staff meant. And just like that, Ajin claimed a 3.5 billion-year-old good son, and their destinies were intertwined. After grumbling and checking Ziren out of the hospital, they come out onto the street. Noticing Ajin's unusual mood, Ziren can't help but ask her, "What's wrong?" Ajin glances back at him. "Actually, you're like this entirely because of the falling rocks, and I don't have to feel responsible or guilty for you." Ziren looks confused. "What's wrong with who? Why do you keep saying the same thing?" He doesn't realize it's being said to him. Ajin didn't explain too much. She walks up to him in a huff. "For your own good, I'm registering you at 24. And I'm 34. Much older." Ziren has a naive look on her face. "Are you upset because you're so much older than me?" Ajin is speechless. She's just trying to tell Ziren that she should speak respectfully to people older than herself. But what she doesn't realize is, this guy right here is a 3.5 billion-year-old monster. She turns her head and tells Ziren to follow her after she warns him again that he should speak with respect, preparing to find him a job and a place to live first, until he regains his memory. But Ziren played a hooligan. He took Ajin's hand in his. She shook Ziren off with a look of anger and said, "I told you so, didn't I? You can't just take someone's hand." The boy looks nervous and asks, "Why?" Ajin felt his head hurt. But she can't say why, and she can only tell Ziren helplessly, "You have to get permission to hold hands." Ziren sniffs and immediately asks, "Can I hold your hand?" Ajin sighs heavily, turns his head to remind the boy, says salute. After hearing Ziren say you, she grabbed the boy's hand. Suddenly, an image flashes through Ziren's mind. Ajin, noticing Ziren's hesitation, turned his head. She realizes that Ziren is already in tears. She asks Ziren why she's suddenly crying. Ziren, however, has a sudden body tremor. "Yeah, why am I shedding tears?" He himself doesn't know. Maybe forgetting is the best way to be gentle with Ziren. Ziren, who has lost his memory, is adopted by Ajin, who takes him to a coffee shop. She wants her friend to take Ziren in and work in her shop. Chiejia looked at the harmless Ziren. At this point, the unintelligent Ziren suddenly said, "What are you looking at?" This impolite attitude made her face question marks. The atmosphere dropped to freezing point. She persuaded Ajin to give up Ziren's adoption, and expressed her disapproval of Ziren working at the store. "Though this is your home, but look at him, he's so dumb, and he doesn't know how to be polite. And he lost his memory. I don't even know if he's a good guy. How do you trust him and bring him home for adoption?" Ajin knows it's no good, but then she remembers that Ziren lost his memory because of himself. The pitiful look on his face. Ajin's sixth sense tells her that Ziren is a good man. The two who have stopped arguing look at Ziren in the room. Seeing Ajin looking at herself, Ziren gives a cute smile. It's an instant hit to Jiejia's heart. Jiejia finally realizes why Ajin adopted him. This little boy is so sweet. Jiejia is feeling a big headache. In the end, she had to give in to Ajin's stubbornness. Arranged for Ziren to stay in the empty room above the coffeehouse, but she didn't expect the innocent Ziren to refuse. "I want to live with Ajin." but Ajin said no. Zirin has no choice but to accept. Watching Zirin get more and more depressed, Ajin said, "Don't think about anything else. Stay here until you get your memory back. I'll come and visit you often." Zirin nods her head in resignation. After that, Ajin gets up and says goodbye to both of them. These days, because of Zirin's business, Ajin's research has been delayed for a long time. Zirin asked curiously, "What kind of research?" Jia tells him, Ajin is a researcher at the Institute of Biological Science and Technology. It's very impressive. Ajin is going to take the puppy Wang. But just after releasing the leash, Wang immediately walks towards Zirin and rubs up against him. Jia is surprised to see this. I didn't think Wang, who was always afraid of strangers, would be so close to them. And Zirin watched the scene with mixed feelings. For some reason, he seems to envy Wang. Ajin can bring him home to raise him and be loved by Ajin. "You're an enviable dog." The moment he touched Wang, Zirin's biodiffusion abilities were instantly activated. A foul, pungent odor causes Zirin to cover his mouth and nose. Accustomed to the smell, he slowly looks to the side of the van that reeks of corruption. Wang, too, growls wildly at the smell of corruption, and Ajin instantly recognizes it as a truck from his own tech academy. A calm Zirin realizes he has the sense of smell of a dog, and he also senses that the creature in the truck is a creature he's never seen before. It was a life form that was born because of the development of human selfishness. Although Zirin has lost her memory, but he can also feel the life forms in it emanating very strong feelings, like countless negative energies converging here. It's a sign of resentment from the bottomless abyss. It's an intense hostility toward humans. Will mankind actually perish because of selfishness and desire? Or more precisely, man has destroyed everything else in his quest for development, and in the end, it's the technology we're so proud of that we're destroying ourselves. The final outcome is still unknown. This is a coelacanth, hydra, that induces the classification of cancer cells. No matter what kind of destruction it suffers physically, it'll be perfectly regenerated in a few days. In a research lab at a biotech institute, many researchers are working on the regenerative abilities of hydrozoan organisms. If we can figure out a way to curb cell regeneration, then there's a chance that cancer cells can be contained. Humans will break the cancer cell problem. Not long ago, a marine company developed a brand new hydra creature, and that's exactly why Zirin felt a disturbing presence earlier. This creature that shouldn't exist on Earth was created by humans. He was named Helm by the humans. It means leader. Earth is a perfect planet. All living things evolved from a single cell. Over time, a variety of creatures slowly evolved. From the beginning of life, animals have possessed the instinct to survive. They don't need to learn to acquire. It's an innate skill. All existence on Earth is a cycle of life and death. This cycle keeps the planet in perfect balance. Yet this immaculate planet has suffered from human overdevelopment, destroying the atmospheric ozone layer. Started global warming. Glaciers begin to melt and grow green plants. The oceans have also become a dumping ground for humans. All of this that mankind has done, it's destroying the balance of this perfect planet little by little. Back to the coffee house, Zirin's working a reluctant shift, because he wants to go to church with Ajin, but Jia told Zirin not to go anywhere because of work hours, and threatened to sleep on the street tonight if he tried to run away. "And I'm a Buddhist. I'm a Shaolin Kung Fu practitioner." Ajin asked Zirin in passing, "Were you religious before you lost your memory?" Jia asked when she saw his blank face. "Are you an atheist? That is, someone who doesn't think there are gods in the world." But Zirin immediately denied. He thinks it's impossible for a perfect world like this not to have a god. If there weren't, then the world would be a weird place, even if he's lost his memory. But Zirin, which has lived on Earth for billions of years, 100% sure, such a perfect world. The Earth is not going to stand by and watch the balance be upset. Whether it's a typhoon, a hurricane, an earthquake, a tsunami, there's an endless array of natural means at its disposal, like the human body's ability to protect itself from destruction. And if that's not enough, then the Earth will create the inevitable being that maintains the harmony of the scales. The instincts with which this being is endowed are to exist in order to destroy mankind, but no one knows that there are two beings on Earth with the same goal. One is held captive by humans, the other is temporarily amnesiac, forgetting his purpose, but in whatever guise the two exist, they're both destined to meet. What will happen in the end is still unknown. Zirin, who has lost her memory, was arranged by Ajin to work at her friend Jia's coffee shop. Zirin wakes up and is reprimanded by Jia while she's still in a daze. "You slept in a dirty warehouse without cleaning it." It's a real bummer. Zirin is forced to organize the warehouse with Jia. He realizes that the boxes are full of books, and one of the animal worlds piqued his curiosity. Jia says you can read it when you're bored, because customers often come into the store to read and not consume. "That's why I took the book down. Soon it will be time to go to work." Jiejia is giving Ziren a newcomer orientation, teaching Ziren some hospitality skills for work. Though he can answer the questions, but he's like an emotionless work machine. Jiejia said that the world doesn't work with your face. Do you think you're better looking than the audience that's watching my video right now? If you want your customers to experience 100 points of service, you have to smile. That's it. The first guests of the day have arrived. Seeing that it's two beautiful college girls, Ziren immediately puts on a smile that would charm 1,000 girls. Except, of course, for my wife, Scarlett Johansson. The two girls were instantly overwhelmed by this fucking aura. What's wrong with this guy? I didn't teach him the pick-up girls technique. Is it self-taught? The time has come to evening. Ajin, who is running for exercise, passes by the coffee shop. She finds the store full of customers, and most of them are girls, and they're all looking at Ziren like they're crazy. Ziren responds to all of them with a smile. They were all overwhelmed by Ziren's handsome face. Ajin didn't realize this guy was so deadly. In the evening, Jiejia looked at the day's turnover, which actually amounted to 2.5 years of revenue. She roared happily. "I found a treasure," and trying to change the facade sign to Ziren's smile. Ziren, who has no concept of money, is unimpressed. Needing the sore apple muscle all the time, Ajin is happy for them too. She wanted to have a drink with Jiejia tonight to celebrate. But Jiejia said she had a date, so she wouldn't go. Ajin just sighed and gave up. But Ziren said he had nothing to do, so you could ask me out. And he looks at Ajin with a look of anticipation. The atmosphere has become quiet. Then the two men went to a bar. Ajin didn't say much and filled him up. And Ziren is new to this beer thing. It's a straight-up gulp. Ziren then gives a constipated look. Why does this stuff taste so bad? But watching Ajin take a straight swig, and straight to the point that she's coming back to life herself. It's so enjoyable. Ziren is puzzled as to how this stuff tastes good. Ajin doesn't know how to answer. Maybe it's to get drunk. Ziren asks curiously, so what if you're drunk? Ajin says that reality is unfair. A lot of people choose to drink and get drunk because of all the bad things in their lives, forgetting your troubles for a short time. Ziren suffers from memory loss. After listening to Ajin, he was inspired. He's looking at the beer in his hand. And then the two drunken cats are out on the street getting high. A drunken Ziren keeps burping. He says he'll never drink again. It's like the whole earth is shaking. The whole thing is so hard. Ajin laughed out loud and said, "That's the flavor." Then Ziren turned into a gentleman to take her home. Ajin didn't expect this elm head to be enlightened, know how to be considerate of girls. At this point Ziren recalls a book. The Secret of Picking Up Girls is really good. The two of them then pass through a thicket. A flickering firefly catches Ajin's attention. She can't help but exclaim, "It's so beautiful." But Ziren mistakenly thinks she likes the light. Watching the fireflies, drunken Ziren unconsciously evolves biotic abilities, emitting his body like a firefly with a gentle bright light, drunkenly asking, "Am I pretty too?" "You're an awesome kid. The earth has given you the power to destroy mankind, and you use it to get girls?" Drunkenly, he's oblivious to the fact that he's exposing his powers. Ajin is too scared to move. It took 2.5 minutes to realize that she had seen a ghost. She was completely sober. Having gone to school, she couldn't understand why humans glowed. Dumbfounded, she subconsciously turns and runs. A glowing Ziren catches up and yells, "Danger ahead." But it's too late for Ajin to react. The body can't stop and trips over a rock, leading him off the cliff. Her unbalanced body sends her plummeting toward the abyss. In this moment, the sleeping power of Ziren's body awakens completely. The vague memory of important people dying in front of him flashed through his mind, recalling the cheetah abilities of the animal world. Ziren evolves the speed of a cheetah rushing towards a cliff, appears over Ajin in a flash, and his expression changes back to its usual dead silence, diving at the speed of a peregrine falcon. Catch Ajin without a hitch. Dumb Ziren gets this close to Ajin for the first time. An inadvertent blush spreads across his face. At this point, Ajin is trembling with fear. Inside the Bio Institute early the next morning, Ajin, who has not yet sobered up, went to work with a sluggish face. The crowd is studying the biometrics of the helmsman, Steel. It's been found to have an extremely fast regeneration rate. No matter what the damage, it can split and regenerate as a whole. And then the chief took out a bottle of scientific sulfuric acid, dropping it into the steel container. Ajin was intensely disturbed by the sight, and the chief finds it very interesting. He also said it was a major breakthrough for mankind. After researching, Ajin vaguely asked the chief. Do humans have the potential to evolve animal abilities in themselves? Simply put, humans have the speed of cheetahs or the strength of dinosaurs, etc. And the chief of the section said with a deep look on his face, this kind can no longer be called human, but a monster. It's an experimental research subject for humans. At night, Zirin becomes a wage earner to make ends meet. The moment he saw Ajin, he immediately switched to dog-licking mode. He totally missed the fact that Ajin looked preoccupied. Ajin surveys the fool in front of him. Do you remember what happened last night? But Zirin pretends. What? I forgot all about it. Ajin slaps the table and tells him to stop pretending. What happened to your superpowers yesterday? And Zirin himself doesn't know what's going on, but he senses that he can evolve the unique abilities of all creatures, and said if Ajin you don't like, then I won't need this ability from now on. But Ajin is curious and asks, what do you want to do with this ability? Zirin looks up and thinks. Suddenly, the blurred picture of him killing people appeared again in his mind. Then he blurted out, I want to destroy the human race. Humans break the laws of nature in order to live longer, creating creatures that were never meant to exist on Earth. Thought this was a technological advancement, but they didn't know they were creating a horrible creature called steel that would destroy humanity. But it's not the only one with that goal. There's also Zirin, who's lost his memory. Just now, Zirin subconsciously spoke of destroying the human race. Ajin looks at him with disbelief. Zirin, who has come back to his senses, doesn't know why he said such a thing. Ajin thinks it's strange. How could a simple, sweet boy say something so dehumanizing? Then she tried to get Zirin to cooperate in the investigation of the mystery of his body, and then produced a consent form for him to sign. Zirin, who can't read this, doesn't care. He'll do anything Ajin says. Quickly write down his big name. After signing his name, he asks Ajin what else he needs to do. Ajin is looking at him with a big smile on his face. The next day, Jijia returns to the store and sees Zirin looking like a kidney failure. She's shocked to the point of losing her face. Heartbroken, she asks Zirin, who bullied you? My lucky cat Zirin. Zirin looks depressed, thinking back to last night when Ajin smiled and drew his own blood, and making himself drink all kinds of weird stuff, and finally poking myself in the stomach with a tube. If I'd known, I wouldn't have signed that contract. At this point, Ajin has just gotten out of the shower. Lying on his bed, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep. There's an uneasiness in her heart. She keeps thinking about Zirin's words, exterminate mankind. Ajin always felt that something terrible must have happened to Zirin before he lost his memory to make him hate humans so much. Early the next morning, she took Zirin's blood to the institute for testing, but 3 consecutive tests came back with ordinary male blood sample. A co-worker on the sidelines is puzzled. Why is Ajin so fixated on this blood? Ajin just made a quick comment and left. She looks at Zirin's blood in deep thought. There is nothing strange about Zirin's blood, but why does he have that magical ability? It's beyond human scientific knowledge. This moment, the common sense she'd been taught about science collapsed in an instant. Just as she passes the entrance to Steele's lab, Steele's tentacles begin to wriggle. It's as if Zirin's blood has attracted it. Steele stirs wildly as if electrocuted, like it's trying to break out of a bottle. By the time the researchers realized it, startled by Steele's state, and even accidentally knocked over Steele's container, the chief can only watch as the container falls. A strong sense of unease sweeps through his body in an instant. And at that moment, Zirin senses that a horrible creature is awakening. Steele, who escaped from the container, seemed to have awakened consciousness. A writhing tentacle crawls madly toward the two. The chief immediately sent his men to get the containers, but Steele's tentacles began to grow. It pierces the skin of the chief. Scientist accidentally breaks a container. A horrible thing was released that could destroy mankind. And at that moment Zirin's pupils in the coffee shop contracted. He sensed the appearance of a being more terrifying than himself. And that's in Ajin's direction. Steele out of bondage, exuding intense hostility toward the humans studying it. Chief On rushes to have his men bring in new containers. He doesn't know that danger is slowly approaching. Suddenly, he feels a stabbing pain, only to see Steele's elongated tentacles bite through his fingers. Just as Chief Anchor looked at Steele in horror, strangely enough it retracted its tentacles, and it's discharging a strange black liquid. It's slowly shrinking in size, until finally, there's no sign of life. Chief Anku hurriedly looked at Splinter. Steele shares a nervous system with its Splinter. It's only logical that if the body dies, the Splinter should die as well. But they're fine. Chief Anku doesn't think it's that simple. A sudden sharp pain eats away at his arm. His fingers are twitching wildly without control, so it's Steele's nerve cells that are eating away at him step by step. The intense pain made Chief Anku keep screaming. Ajin, who heard the commotion outside the door, rushed into the lab. She saw Chief Anku foaming at the mouth. Ajin was just about to call an ambulance, but Chief Anku's eyes suddenly glowed red as he stared at Zirin's blood sample. He's coming at Ajin with more speed than humanly possible. Ajin has no time to react. Steel seemed to be tearing the woman apart. In the nick of time, Zirin uses his electric eel powers to electrocute Chief Unku to unconsciousness after. Zirin turns around and asks Ajin if she's okay, but Ajin clearly hasn't recovered from the shock. A co-worker looks at Zirin, who was a bit overly concerned, thought he was Ajin's boyfriend, then he looked at the wound on his hand. That's the wound he got when Chief Unku was rioting. But he doesn't take it seriously, totally unaware of how serious this could be. Zirin then casts him a malicious look. Zirin clearly senses an eerie aura emanating from his body. He is too frightened to look Zirin in the eye. After the thing, Chief Enki was put in an ambulance. Everything doesn't seem to be in danger, but his fingers are twitching uncontrollably. Ajin asks Zirin, "How did you know I was in danger here?" Zirin doesn't know how to answer either. It's a hunch. Zirin wants Ajin out of here, because it's not safe here anymore. And Ajin's co-workers are clocking out, and his hand began to twitch uncontrollably. Zirin tells Ajin to get out of here. It's not safe anymore. Then he took Ajin's hand. He's trying to force her to leave the institute. Ajin shook his hand off. Angrily, she asked, "Why should I go? What exactly is the danger?" At this point, Zirin doesn't know how to answer, but his own instinct is to sense danger and make Ajin believe in himself for once. Ajin looks at his anxious face. Although it was sudden and unbelievable, she chooses to believe Zirin. The two then drove to a deserted location. Ajin took a few days leave from the institute on the grounds of illness. Zirin is relieved. At this point, Ajin pulls out Zirin's blood report. It shows nothing like a normal person. Looking at the test report, Ajin is in deep thought. Combine this with his unconscious comment about destroying the human race and magical animal powers. It always felt like he was a threat to humanity. There's too much mystery about him, but she still trusts Zirin. Then Ajin suddenly asks Zirin, "Do you like me?" Zirin didn't hesitate to answer, "Yes." Then Ajin asked, "So do the others like it too?" Zirin's eyes become eloquent and silent. Indicates little thought for the others. But Ajin cuts to the chase. "You loathe other human beings." And then the two of them got out of the car. Ajin wants to correct Zirin's antisocial behavior towards humans. She's sure that something happened to Zirin before he lost his memory that made him loathe humans, but Ajin says she hates humans sometimes. Mortgages, car loans, and the like are a pain in the ass. But that will pass. Apparently Zirin wasn't listening to what she was saying, but that's what Ajin is curious about. "Why do you only like me?" Zirin doesn't answer and takes her to see the other side of the sea. Fingers to the endless sea. And Chief Unku, who woke up in the hospital, suddenly, he opens his bloody mouth. Uncontrollably, he bites the doctor's hand. The doctor is in so much pain that he lets go and asks what's wrong with him. And it's only then that Chief Un comes back to his senses. He's just saying he's sorry. The doctor is afraid he'll bite himself again, turns around and curses and walks away. He doesn't know what's wrong with him. Looking at the finger bitten by steel, thinking back to the doctor's report that his physical tests were normal, he realizes this must be Steel's doing. It seemed to be eating away at his consciousness step by step. I'm afraid that at this point in time, with the technological means available to mankind, it's impossible to fully decipher a being like Steel. He had to go back to the institute to find out what was wrong with him. And inside the institute, Lien, who's been scratched by Chief Enk, is dozing off. A mosquito flies towards him. It sucks his blood greedily. The blood-sucking mosquito is content to fly away, and this mosquito receives a signal of consciousness. That's Steel's consciousness. Exterminate the human race. It's a mosquito with a zombie-like virus. In its bite and in its human-to-human transmission, the number of infected people has reached 289, and the number continues to rise. And the source of all this virus is a creature called Steel. It's parasitizing its creator. Chiefin serves as a parasitic carrier for Steel. He realizes he's already in a symbiotic relationship with Steel. In less than a day, through Steel's neural network, he can sense that the number of infected people has reached 280,000 worldwide. And he can control the consciousness of anyone infected with the virus. He can do whatever he wants. He named it the thread manipulation virus. Playing puppet with strings like a god. The power of life and death over mankind. This is dangerous for humanity. And there are two options before him. A is the plan to save mankind. B is the extermination of mankind. On the other side of the sea, Zirin is using his biotic sense to disperse the fish in the sea. Zirin then uses the power of nature to control the surface of the sea. Although Ajin is a scientist, but the sight in front of her made her jaw drop. This is beyond scientific explanation. The sea is under Zirin's control. creating huge tornadoes, like a pillar of water. She really didn't think Zirin could manipulate nature. Then Zirin asked her if she wanted to take a ride. Ajin stared blankly, not understanding at all. Before she could react, Zirin took her for a ride on the waves. Just keep rushing towards the distance. Zirin told her not to be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of, because I'm here. The land, the water, even the wind, it's all under my control. He told Ajin to feel the rawness of the world with his heart. And that's why Zirin only likes her. He thinks Ajin is as beautiful as nature. Because in his mind, Ajin was like the woman who had always given him a sense of warmth. At that moment, Ajin's smile slowly blossomed to feel the beauty of it all, shouting out her wish towards the sunset. Zirin smiles for the first time in hundreds of millions of years. Maybe memory loss isn't such a bad thing for him. But such a beautiful sight will never come again. At night, the two came to an island. Ajin feels that Zirin's powers and presence are dangerous to humans. It's like a nuclear bomb, and Ajin is now like a light to Zirin. She also became a yoke for Zirin to destroy mankind in the future, but Zirin is now willing to guard the world she cares about for her. But once that light is gone, then mankind will be confronted by two terrifying beings, and inside the institute, Shifen, whose mind has been affected by steel, doesn't understand why God gave himself the power of life and death over mankind. When he saw the news about countries enacting all sorts of irrational policies, it's quietly sweeping the globe. And the actual beneficiaries of all these irrational policies, it's only the high and mighty politicians and businessmen. The rich only get richer. The poor will only get poorer and poorer until they die. Such a dirty and selfish human society. Let him realize that this is destiny. He thinks it's God's way of making a better world for himself. As long as the number of infected people is high enough, he can manipulate human consciousness at the touch of a finger if he wants to, triggering the Fourth World War of mankind, watching humans kill each other. What a wonderful sight that would be. It would be the end of mankind. The Earth will return to a time when there were no humans. A being that can manipulate everything. It's going to be divine. What a wonderful scene that would be. This man thinks he's a god. The power of life and death over mankind. He controls the consciousness of 280,000 people around the world with a neurovirus. And the number of infected people just keeps going up. Just when he was enjoying his godly rights, a figure appeared out of nowhere in front of him. Shifen inquires, "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Li Zirin. I'm here to destroy you." Shifen froze at the sound of that. His pupils constricted. The eyes glow red and hiss. As the glasses fall out, his consciousness is gradually overtaken by the neuroviral creature Steel. "I can sense that you and I exist for the same purpose. Why are you trying to kill me?" 5 minutes ago, the mosquito controlled by the Steel virus almost bit Ajin, nearly turned the people he cared about away from himself again. And that's why Zirin came to kill him. Because your presence is dangerous to her. Zirin stopped talking and unleashed all his powers. Aura of killing. But Steel is undaunted. Then he clasped his hand. The humans controlled by the Steel cell virus are like zombies rushing through the gate to get to Zirin. "Now all humans can be my weapons. You want to kill me? That's a joke. I am now the god of this world." But Zirin doesn't even wait for him to finish his sentence before he goes straight for him. "You're a really weak god." Zirin lifts his collar, taking him higher and higher into the sky. Fly away from the city. A massive impact sends him flying into the countryside. Heavy impact on a stubborn rock, instantly causing him to spit blood from his mouth. But a few seconds later, Steel's regenerative cells let him recover from his injuries. And that's when Zirin came to him. Zirin thought it was strange why he couldn't die. In that case, Zirin lets him enjoy the ultimate in violent aesthetics. "One hit won't kill you, then let's throw more punches." Even if Steel gets his front teeth knocked out by Zirin, he still didn't go down even after being beaten to a pig's head. The injured parts are also recovering quickly with the regenerative cells. A set of damage. Zirin wonders why this guy isn't dead yet. The two just look at each other speechlessly. "I can't beat you, but you can't kill me either." Zirin grabbed him by the neck with one hand and asked him, "What would it take to kill you?" That's when Steel finally started to fight back. It's trying to infiltrate the virus cells into Zirin's body, but it doesn't work. And Zirin asked he was stupid. "Why are you squeezing my hand?" Steel then opens his hands. At once, countless birds and beasts came rushing in. Manipulation of all life is about to erode Zirin. Zirin smiles scornfully at this. A stomp of his foot instantly shatters the earth. The strong vibration tripped all of the charging beasts to the ground. A casual throw sends Steel high into the air. Zirin triggers the jumping ability of kangaroos and antelopes, jumping full force at Steel. an ascending dragon punch through his midsection. Such an exaggerated attack that Steel briefly loses consciousness. The out-of-control animals flee. Steel, collapsed on the ground, slowly regains consciousness. This wound can't be repaired by regenerative cells. A new host must be found. Steel looks at Zirin with his dying breath. A look of fear appeared in his eyes. It was only then that he completely realized there's absolutely no way to win in front of him. He's the devil. Suddenly, he thinks back to the girl Zirin was so protective of earlier. Despite being punched through the body by Zirin, despite being covered in blood, he can't help but laugh, because he's figured out what Zirin's weakness is. Steel controls a flock of crows flying in. Let the crows gnaw themselves clean. A scene so insane it makes Zirin look away. Reacting, Zirin realizes something is wrong. He tries to stop the crows from eating, but it's too late. He realizes that the steel breath that Chiefin gave off has completely disappeared. In a split second, the breath of the evil being is already in the air. Turns out Steel wasn't trying to kill himself by letting the crows gnaw on him. Rather, he was transferring his body to parasitize the crows. After Steel left Chifin's body, he slowly regains his consciousness as a human. Stop Zirin and ask him for something very important. There's a folder on my computer that saves humanity. But Zirin didn't hear him out. He turned and ran. He knew exactly what Steel was after. He has to get back to the coffee shop fast now. At this point, Steel has taken control of the Raven flock and has flown back to the city. Inside the coffee shop, Jie is complaining that there are fewer and fewer customers in the coffee shop. It's Zirin's fault for not working. It's not like I can just fire him. Zirin is now the face of the store. Suddenly her hand is uncontrollably clamped over Ajin's mouth. She reacted and retracted her hand in a hurry. Jie's headache ensued. Strange voices are coming from her head. No matter how much she struggled, the voice wouldn't go away. Steel's viral cells continue to invade her brain. She's on the verge of losing control. She's yelling for Ajin to run. Ajin is a little scared by her behavior, but there's more to come. A horde of Steel-controlled people are surrounding the coffee shop like zombies. The next second, they break the glass and rush in. Ajin was scared out of his wits. At this point, Jie is also completely out of control. Just as she was about to touch Ajin, a figure flashes past the zombie's head. Her hero makes his appearance once again. Zirin pushes Jie's head straight into the table, and he didn't forget to say, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Boss, please don't dock my paycheck." Then he dragged Jie's head towards the out-of-control crowd, and threw it mercilessly at the crowd. "I'm really sorry, boss lady." Ajin is stunned by this ruthless side of Zirin. Jie gave Zirin the MBT personality test earlier. The results came back as frightening ISTP personalities. Meanwhile, the world is broadcasting emergency news. Mentally disturbed human beings are appearing all over the world. Experts officially classify this symptom as a zombie epidemic. They're not sure where the virus came from. Some say it's a biochemical virus from M. Those who got it all coincidentally received a picture and instructions in their minds. The image was of a girl with long hair from the country of kimchi. The command is, catch her and bite her. Back to the coffee shop. Countless zombies are about to pounce on Ajin, and behind the zombie horde, a crow watches silently. And this is Steel, who has been given a new lease on life. He's enjoying the sight, ruthlessly tearing away at it. Human. End times kill the Madonna first. But what would you do if the Madonna was someone you loved? Internet celebrity live broadcast is real. The next second, the man in green opens the window. He jumped from the 18th floor. Web celebrity guy is stunned. I didn't realize he played it so real. Walked into the window and looked down only to find that his friend wasn't dead. But here's the weird part. The others are running in one direction like zombies. Such a horrific scene shakes the little brother to his core. The world government has officially named the Steel Cell virus corpse tide. And inside the coffee shop, Zirin fights to protect Ajin. He knows these people controlled by Steel are out to get Ajin. Zirin is just about to start the killing process. A blast of murderous energy sends chills down Ajin's spine. The Zirin in front of her seemed like a different person. It's so strange. Just as Zirin tried to make a move to kill them, Ajin of the Holy Mother's heart, however, suppressed the murderous intent in his heart, shaking his head to signal him not to kill. Don't do it! Zirin has no choice but to carry Ajin on her back. But everywhere he go, there are zombies. Soon the two are surrounded by walkers on all sides. Zirin tells Ajin to hold on tight. Derivative kangaroo's ability to leap up, landing on a rooftop. Ajin looks down at the irrational crowd. I don't understand what's wrong with the world. Zirin explains to her. This is all the work of Steel, created by Chiefin. He also said he had killed Chiefin. It can't be helped. Even so, Ajin can't make sense of it. Why Zirin is so cold-blooded and heartless. Those people are living beings. They're just being controlled by a virus. You can't kill people. Here, I want Jesus to come down from the cross and let Ajin go up. Kick your ass to the box and let Zirin have his killing spree. Then Ajin turns his head and walks away. She wants to go back to the institute to see if there are any clues to solve this crisis. Zirin was just about to take her hand and carry her to the institute. But Ajin slaps it away, and says she can't understand Zirin's mind, simply cold-blooded, and telling Zirin to stop following herself. Zirin freezes in place for a moment. In a vague memory, the warm woman never shook off her hand. Watching Ajin's back as she walks away, Zirin seems to have figured it out. Trying to protect the people he cares about, you have to honor your first wishes. That's when the rooftop door was broken. The zombies hiss and pounce on Ajin. It's about to touch her. Zirin's fist suddenly appears in front of her. A simple punch kills the zombie instantly. Blood is flying. It's incomprehensible, isn't it? You still don't understand why I kill people? It's a simple reason. Those fang-filled hideous creatures want to take away my only spiritual anchor. Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. I've already lost once. Whoever wants to touch you, all must die. I'll protect you no matter what. Ajin looked at the man in front of her with dismay, who had sacrificed his life for his own. As if to say, as long as I am here, everything is enough. And at that moment, a building behind him. The guy from before with the cell phone is live streaming the whole thing. The pop-up screen in the live broadcast room exploded. The number of viewers is skyrocketing, and that's how Zirin's powers became public. And in the national emergency room, the zombie virus was already giving this group of leaders a headache. They're still trying to figure out how to cover it up and keep their positions. A crew member rushes in with live footage from Zirin. Now things are going in a completely unexpected direction. I wonder if this is a friend or foe of mankind. Zirin looks at the group of zombies that are still standing after being incapacitated by his own electroshock. They're all staring at Ajin with red eyes. Zirin realizes that the virus itself must be dealt with first. When he calmed down, he sensed Steel's scent was nearby. Turning his head, he sees it on the roof of a house far behind Ajin, only to see the raven parasitized by Steel watching this from above, calmly directing the wave of zombies towards Zirin and the others. Steel must eliminate Zirin as a threat to his existence. If I can't kill you, I'll break your heart. Zirin then sinks his body, evolve Tiger Claw to dig out a stone. A blue light of psychic energy emanates from his eyes, transforms into a humanoid turret. This is a raven that can control zombies. Zirin uses the bear's power to evolve a tiger's claw to dig up a stone in the ground. Zirin aims at the raven Steel with an eloquent blue light in his eyes. After a violent explosion, the zombies behind Zirin are falling out of control. But only 2.5 seconds later, Zirin senses something's wrong. The sight that symbolizes the red light of death reappears. The zombie gradually regains its hideous face and stares at Ajin. It turns out that Steel was lucky enough to avoid the blow that pierced the mountain. The zombie horde is about to pounce with another ear-splitting hiss. Ajin is screaming in terror. Zirin holds her trembling hand to calm her down. Don't be afraid, whether it's running to the ends of the earth or against the world. I will always protect you. With that, he picked up Ajin and told her to hold onto him. The moment the zombie was about to touch him, Zirin leaps off the building. This scene also happens to be recorded by a live webcam. The country's prime minister can't believe this broadcast is real, trying to cover up the broadcast. But the video footage has been broadcasted by all the major media outlets. It's completely out of the state's control. It's caused a worldwide sensation. The crowded streets, in the fast-moving subway, even major schools and internet cafes are in shock. Zirin became an internet sensation. People are talking, is this Superman? And the clip was seen by the Secretary of Defense. But in his eyes, Zirin wasn't a superhuman hero. It's a monster. At this point, Zirin is running with Ajin on his back. The zombies are in hot pursuit. Steel's controlling a flock of crows. Zirin breaks in a hurry, and he gets annoyed, not realizing the real danger was behind him. Steel suddenly attacked Ajin. Zirin looks at the raven that suddenly appears in front of him and slowly falls down. A strong feeling of unease rises in his heart. He turned his head and saw Ajin's cuts from the crows. Zirin freezes in place for a moment, not knowing what to do. The chasing zombie horde suddenly stops. The people under control have all regained consciousness. They have no idea what just happened, and also don't know how they got here. Zirin looks at the raven that was originally parasitized by Steel proper. It's completely devoid of life. He knows Steel's purpose has been served, and Ajin still doesn't know what's going on. Then Zirin told Ajin, Steel has successfully parasitized you. There is only one way to save you now, and that is to cut off your entire arm. Ajin's face went white with fear when he heard that. Before he could react, Zirin was about to make a move. Ajin backed up and yelled, the virus cells have spread throughout the body. Cutting off the arm won't help. You're a fool. Then the two of Ajin drove back to the research institute. That's where it all started. Maybe there's a way to save herself there. And the government at this point had identified the source of the steel virus, also got the research logs of the previous host, Chifan, and his computer data. It's detailed in there, the whole process of how Chifani became sick after being bitten by steel, and the A document that can save humanity. The officer looks on in disbelief. And there was only one way to save mankind, and that is to kill Steel's host. Whoever it is, the officer who reads the information is relieved. Luckily, the method is so simple. Unaware of the situation, the two have returned to the institute, only to find the place heavily guarded. Ajin identifies himself as a researcher, says she's going in. It's a matter of human survival. At the same time, government officials learn of Steel's parasites is appearing at the institute with the mysterious man inside the live broadcast, so he sends a man in a suit to talk to them. The man in the suit asks Zirin and Ajin to cooperate with him for questioning. With that, he asks the two to separate for a while. Ajin says time is running out. She has to go to the research lab herself to make sure, but he kept asking them to cooperate with him. Let the soldiers take Ajin away. Zirin is instantly pissed off. What do you want? With one look, the soldiers all raised their guns in fear. They were afraid that Zirin, the monster, would do something terrible. The man in the suit is trembling with fear at the look Zirin just gave him. He forces down the fear in his heart. Once again, he asks Zirin to cooperate with him. And the sight of the soldier raising his gun in front of him reminds Zirin of a blurry image of someone shooting at him. Zirin signaling them not to point their guns at himself and Ajin. Otherwise, they'll all die. The man in the suit calms Zirin down. Or we'll have to shoot. Zirin was just about to kill them. But Ajin stopped him. She doesn't want to see Zirin kill for herself again. Zirin lowers his head helplessly. The man in the suit sees Zirin calm down, immediately signaled the soldiers to take Ajin away for investigation. When the two are separated, Ajin reassures Zirin that she doesn't need to worry about herself. This is a simple inquiry. But when we get back to the institute, Ajin couldn't understand why they handcuffed him. The woman explains, "You were parasitized by steel. It's a means of preventing it from controlling your rebellion." The bald guy next to she still has the tranquilizer ready, and Zirin is taken to the Defense Department building. He was interrogated by the Minister of Defense, and Xianying. He's got Zirin explaining what his superhuman abilities are all about. And Zirin just said he didn't know, and also asked, "How is Ajin doing now?" The minister didn't answer him back, but talked about his own father, though her father was a small-time cop and died young, but he left behind a journal of his investigations. There's a story about an incredible being. Father was investigating that thing, but he was killed by the monster, and this Minister On's father is the same Sheriff On who shot Zirin's mother 47 years ago. At this point a soldier came in and reported, "There are results from the institute. Ajin is Steel's current host." The minister says it's fine. Looks like just kill the girl. The world will be at peace. Zirin breaks free from his handcuffs in a fit of rage. Facing the murderous Zirin, she who can sit on the position of Minister of Defense is not afraid at all. She was about to say, "This is just to save humanity." Zirin punched the bulletproof glass. Minister and told him not to waste his energy. "Hear me out first." With that, she took out the picture of the monster from her father's investigation journal. "Though it seems impossible at your age, but you look so much like that monster, and your powers, then it all makes sense. So you are that monster, am I right?" That's Zirin and Eiko on top of the photo. When Zirin sees the woman in the photo, he remembers for a split second why he wanted to wipe out the human race. Lost memories suddenly flooded his mind like a tidal wave. The woman who was always there for him. The woman who always says, "I love you." The woman who protects himself with her life. The warm woman who kept appearing vaguely when she lost her memory. It's Mom. The man with the power of all things, finally recalling his mission. That is, to destroy the human race. But before he does that, he wants to solve the mystery in his mind. And in the Oval Office, investigative officials present a document. The contents of the document are a request to execute the source of the virus. That's Steel's parasite Ajin. The president is hesitant. Is there no other way but to kill the innocent girl? The official said, "Human technology has not fully grasped the dangers of steel. The danger posed by steel should be neutralized as quickly as possible. Sacrifice the small for the big. This is definitely the best option. Please make your decision as soon as possible, Mr. President." Even if the president hesitates, but everything is right in front of him, he still knows how to weigh the life of one man against the life of the whole world. With the fall of the presidential seal, Ajin's death warrant is officially in effect. The news quickly reached the institute. They began to prepare Ajin for execution, though they knew it would turn out this way. But they still felt sorry for the innocent woman. Back in the Defense Department building, Zirin is irritated by the photo in Minister An's hand, standing frozen in place for a long time. "Looking at the picture of my mom, All the lost memories have come back. For the first time as a human, he don't understand why this woman's arms are so warm, nor do he understand that after he ran away from home, why would this woman be so desperate to find him? Until the woman finally took a bullet for herself and died. Zirin realized that she had been wrapped in a mother's love. He should have called she mom earlier. He thinks about the cops who shot his mom. His eyes turned back to their old deathly indifference. He asked Minister On if she was the daughter of one of the policemen at the time. Did you go to all this trouble to bring me here to avenge your father's murder? With that, he lifted his chair and sat down. But the minister said it was a long time ago. I don't think like that anymore. Now she's only thinking about the safety of her country. And you are now an uncertain danger to the nation and to mankind. And Zirin doesn't give a damn about her so-called country, people, or righteousness. All he wants now is a picture of his mom. And for Minister On to give it to him. This will save her life. But Minister On said, what if I don't? She wants to irritate Zirin, see what he'll do. To see if he's a threat to humanity. Only the dead silence of Zirin is seen. A small wave of the arm. Don't deny my request. You are the daughter of that man. This is already making me angry. Minister On, who was so high and mighty just a moment ago, and now she's completely stunned by Zirin. She rushed to say that her father died early, and that she didn't really have any feelings for him. Suddenly Zirin asks him if he knows how many lives humans carry with them to die in their lifetime. In the cycle of 10,000 lifetimes, I have lost many of my kind to you humans. I have felt endless pain, so hard to get the only warmth. But then your father took away all I had in the world. So, you're so quick to write off your relationship with your father. It makes me laugh. Though Minister On doesn't know what Zirin means, but she knew that if she didn't hand over the photo she would die. Zirin takes the photo and slowly rises. He's leaving with an aura of death all over his body. Minister On raised his nerve and asked him, is you going to save Ajin? Zirin said indifferently, that's just a human being. It means nothing to me anymore. He pierced through the 2-meter-thick titanium alloy steel-plated Ministry of Defense with just one punch. Even the steel walls of the outer perimeter, which could withstand a nuclear strike, were blasted through a hole. The eyes are as cold as the depths of hell. Every step he takes reeks of death. The shattered bodies in front of the big hole make him look like the Grim Reaper. These battle-hardened soldiers are stunned into silence. Minister and in the interrogation room, though she'd long since lost her fear of death. But with the intimidation of the punch Zirin just threw, the primal fear in her body was awakened. Her hands were already shaking unconsciously. She then gives the soldier his orders. Kill Zirin Lee on all fronts. Level 1 alarm. That's the highest state of alert in the country. Back to the institute. Officer in black says, only killing you will solve the human crisis. After saying this he had the euthanasia program started. Ajin couldn't believe this was happening to him. She asks, isn't there any other way? But he left Ajin speechless with a moral abduction from the highest point of mankind. The life of the world and the life of you alone. I hope you understand. Ajin accepted the truth with reluctance, crying silently in pain. The officer reassures Ajin not to be afraid. The process is like falling asleep. You will die quietly and without pain. He didn't know Ajin had a creepy smile on his lips. An empty street. Recovering consciousness, Jijia has been searching for Ajin and Zirin. Suddenly Zirin is seen. She rushes to ask Zirin, where did you and Ajin go last night? How come I can't reach you guys for a day? But then her eyes widened. The legions, led by the tanks, are all pointing their guns at Zirin. Such a big scene confused her. She has no idea what's going on. Zirin glances at Jijia with indifference. The doubt in his mind has not yet dissipated. He wants answers. And at the institute. At this point, the steel inside Ajin begins to awaken. Suddenly the control researcher hits the officer with the sedative. But here's the strange thing. Ajin's consciousness wasn't fully appropriated by steel. With the soldier leader's order to open fire, one of the tank's shells was fired. There's a total disregard for the innocent Jijia. Looking at Jijia, who was so scared she couldn't walk, Zirin remembers the days of her part-time job. And the woman who made herself miserable. After the smoke from the explosion cleared, the soldiers stand in fear. After decades of war, they've never seen anything like this. That man is a monster. Zirin took a tank shell with his body, and used the power of nature to raise a giant wall to protect Jijia. And he's in over his head. He doesn't understand what kind of feelings he has for them. Is it family or friends? Or a stranger passing through during amnesia? He knew Ajin wasn't mom. But the words of the defense minister ordering Ajin's execution kept echoing in his head. What the hell does that feel like? He doesn't understand why he's worried about her. He also doesn't understand why he stepped in to save Jijia. It's getting really annoying. It feels like it's all about to grow a brain. Zirin asks Jijia if she's hurt. Look at the cold look on his face. Jijia's not sure he's the same Zirin she knew. Cowering in fear, she dares not speak. Zirin sees this and continues to ask. These humans are trying to kill me and Ajin. The reason is to save all of humanity. What do you think? Do you want us to die? Though Jijia is desperately afraid. Don't understand what Zirin is talking about. But she wants Zirin and Ajin to live. Zirin had an answer in her heart. In a moment of clarity, the troop leader orders the tanks to reload. Zirin tells Jijia to close her eyes. The next scene is going to be horrible. The head soldier is about to call for fire. Zirin instantly grabs him by the mouth. One hand lifts him up high. Some of the soldiers around us are afraid to shoot for the captain's safety. Some of them had already fallen to the ground in fear. You humans always talk about sacrificing the few for the many, but I think that's a ridiculous statement. It's like brainwashing. Why must we sacrifice for the collective, instead of letting myself live well? The so-called sacrifice is self-selecting. But why can it be forced? The truth is, you humans are all about the law of the jungle. It's the strongest of the strong ruthlessly trampling on the few. The decision is always in the hands of the strong. So I've decided, kill you all. Zirin, with his hands full of orange juice, remembered what it felt like to slaughter humans as a child. That long-lost feeling is so pleasurable. It's also nostalgic. There's not much recap in this episode. The story will be told in Zirin's inner thoughts. A powerful explosion turns the sky the color of blood. The smell of blood fills the air. Unafraid of death, the live media covered the whole thing live on the air. The man is slaughtering kimchi soldiers like the Grim Reaper. The scene is littered with the remains of kimchi. It's hell on earth. The government has set off alarm number 1 for this dangerous man. He's a monster. He's a demon. He's beyond Homelander. You guys always ask me why I kill people. The reason is simple. I learned the human language. I've learned human thoughts, learned about human society. Humans always think they are the center of the world. As long as it's tied to human interests, it's justified to name other creatures and destroy the environment. I have been through countless reincarnations. Each life exists as a different species. When I was a shark, humans cut my fins off to satisfy their taste buds. Let the blood stain the beach. When I was an elephant, humans killed me mercilessly and took away my teeth, just to make meaningless art. When I was a crocodile, humans pull out my tendons and strip me of my skin. They make all kinds of leather goods to satisfy their vanity. When I was a monkey, I was a human drug test subject. Even as a dog, I couldn't escape human abuse. In the infinite cycle of life and death, I've died at the hands of humans tens of thousands of times. I hate humans even now. The reason is so simple, and in this life, I was born as a human. The warmth I had so easily gained was mercilessly taken away from me by humans. It was you humans who created the monster that I am. Your human arrogance is uncontrollable. Like internet keyboard warriors. Makes me sick. Don't advise others to do good without experiencing their suffering. Who can understand my hundreds of millions of years of loneliness? It's not me or the world that's wrong. It's this human society. But that warmth that once gave me a human heart too. It changed me and made me want to protect the people I cared about. But there are always humans who are stupid enough to challenge me. And by this time, Jijia is extremely scared, asking me to take her away from this horrible place. I thought I could rid myself of human emotion, but in the end I realized I still couldn't. It's so annoying. I feel like I'm going to grow a brain. Forget it, let's send her home for now and fight again somewhere else. Even if I don't have to meet you, I can still feel you alive. I will honor the promise I made to you, even if it means destroying the human race. Steel awakens inside Ajin, controlling researchers walking like zombies. But strangely enough, Steel doesn't fully encroach on her consciousness. The officers in the surveillance room see things starting to get out of hand. Immediately instructed everyone to cancel the euthanasia program. Turn on Plan B. Killed Steel's host Ajin on the spot. Watching the researchers in front of you keep charging forward, Ajin had a headache. She could sense that Steel was controlling these people. They're pouncing like zombies on the crowd that's trying to shoot her. She can still feel steel trying to devour what's left of her consciousness. She clenches her teeth and makes a bold decision. The intense headbutts are starting to dull the zombies. Then they lose control and fall to the ground. The executives who were going to shoot Ajin looked stunned. They don't know what's going on. Turns out Ajin was trying to knock out the steel inside him and keep the pain conscious. And that's when Steel's voice sounded in Ajin's head. Woman, do you see the status quo? We're in a symbiotic relationship. They're trying to kill you, and I'm trying to save you. Did you eat too many kimchi and get a bad head? Steel kept nagging her in the back of her head. Ajin snarls, shut the fuck up. It's so noisy. Almost made myself unconscious with this one, but the steel cacophony finally dies down for a moment. Look at the pistol on the floor. Ajin remembers what the black-clad officer said. The life of the world and the life of you alone. Ajin then picked up the pistol on the ground and put it to his head. She wanted to end her life to save the world. Now Steel's in a hurry. It wants to stop Ajin, but there's no way to control her body. What do you want, you crazy bitch? Now we're all gonna die. What are you doing? Seeing that it's Ziren's arrival, Ajin, who had been so nervous, couldn't hold back her tears any longer. Ziren, the idiot, just looked at her. He don't know how to comfort. And then a voice sounded. It turned out to be the officer who had been sedated earlier. Why did you stop him from killing himself? Ajin is now a steel host. Her very existence threatens the world. She has to die. Ziren, however, doesn't care. He asks Ajin if that's why she tried to kill herself because of their bullshit. Next thing you know, Ziren is pinching Ajin's hair and telling Ajin not to be stupid. Don't think you can save the world by sacrificing yourself. The greatest threat to the world is not you, the existence that can threaten the world. Since ancient times, only human. How many species have been gradually exterminated by the presence of humans? How many environments have been destroyed? That's something only the humans know. And what they call the world is just the human race itself. Such a filthy, selfish race of humans is not worth dying for. Ziren strokes Ajin's head as she speaks. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to take responsibility for their sins alone. It's better if they're all dead. At this point the man in black raises his gun and yells, for the sake of the world, she has to die. Even you must die. I'll always keep my promise to protect you. No matter what, you must live. Live for yourself. The man was just about to shoot the woman who could threaten the very existence of mankind when Ziren kills him in the next second. Ajin looks dumbfounded. She couldn't believe Ziren would kill with that wonderful power. Ajin cries out for Ziren to stop killing people. Hear Ajin's cry. Ziren stops what he's doing. But in the face of Ajin's weeping pleas, Ziren still kills him with a single handshake. You need to stop being such a saint. It just makes me sick. Ajin is devastated. She fell to her knees and cried. Looking at Ajin, who was crying and trembling all over, Ziren, the idiot, has no comfort in him. And he thinks like steel. Before these guys were going to kill Ajin, kill them first. In human terms, it's called self-defense. Ajin thinks he's full of shit. The sadness in her heart turns to anger. You're killing innocent people. She asks Ziren, who the hell are you? Where is the old Ziren? If you judge people for who they are by their behavior, then the me that lost my memory before was just a shell. And now I've got my hands full of orange juice. I'm the real Lee Ziren when it comes to slaughtering people. But one thing about me hasn't changed. I will protect you even if the world ends. At this time, a large number of Kimchi soldiers have surrounded the institute. Ziren is going to take Ajin out of here. But Ajin shook off Ziren's hand. She said, I'm going to die here no matter what. She knows how dangerous steel is. Bent on ending her life here, resulting in Ziren's instant annoyance, Thunderbolt is released from his hand. He wants to give this holy mother a big slap in the face, make her realize what's going on. And Ajin felt a strong fear of death. She can feel that Ziren really wants to kill her. But it turns out that Ziren was only angry for 2.5 seconds before letting out a deep breath. Almost lost my mind with you. Just now I wanted to chop off your hands and feet and take you away by force. After all, you have Steel's regeneration cells inside you. But I'm afraid you'll die on the way. The atmosphere was awkward. Ajin was completely frightened by his operation. But a calmer Ziren still doesn't want to see Ajin get hurt. And he makes Ajin confess, do you really want to die? Do you really not fear death? See Ajin's silence. Ziren begins to tell the story of her life. I have lived for 4.5 billion years. I've been through countless births and deaths. No matter what kind of pain I've experienced, I never thought I'd end my life. Even in my most desperate moments, a light shines through to give me hope. And I am that light for you? So you're lying, you want to live. Ziren saw right through Ajin, tearing down her disguise without mercy. At this point, Ajin couldn't hold back any longer. She fell into Ziren's arms and cried, Who would give up their life when they have the power to take on the world? Who would not want to live for himself? Maybe it'll all be Homelander. Man on rooftop with a cold face. He's as silent as death, defying the 25,000 kimchi soldiers below. The kimchi soldiers have been dumbfounded by his aura. Zirin tells Ajin to close his eyes. This next scene is going to be scary. Ajin takes one last look at the humans before Zirin makes his move. I'm really sorry. And at this time inside the Kimchi presidential palace, Defense Minister In Shanying asked the president, indiscriminate missile bombardment of Zirin and steel host locations, now those two are a threat to the world. But the president thinks she's completely insane. There are Kimchi citizens and Kimchi soldiers in that area. It's impossible to put a missile there. In the next second, however, Minister On raises his pistol and aims it at the president. Mr. President, when you signed off on Ajin's execution, saving the world with one man's life, that's right. And I have now decided, sacrifice a few to save the world. And I did the right thing by doing so. The presidential bodyguard heard the shots and rushed in, only to see the president shot dead. The bodyguard with a gun asks what's going on. Minister In indifferently says, the president is infected with the steel virus, but the bodyguard sees right through her lies. This is a coup d'etat. Minister In, however, smiled grimly, so what if it is? Next, several Kimchi soldiers have appeared in the president's office. Then two of the bodyguards were shot into a hornet's nest. Minister On is enjoying the feeling of entitlement, and then she asked the soldiers to bring the president's Secretary General up. The Secretary General is still cursing. He didn't realize it was a coup until he saw the shot president. Minister On told everyone else to get out first. Then he said in a serious manner, the president is infected with the steel virus. She had no choice but to shoot him. The Secretary General was furious. He also saw right through her lies. And he also saw that In Shanying was trying to control the whole country with the army. And In Shanying was trying to get the Secretary General to assist her. But the Secretary General never walks with the wolves. What era is this? And you still come to engage in violent revolution? You can't afford to bring the people to the brink of disaster. It's clear that the Secretary General is a good official, dedicated to his country and his people. But In Shanying just thinks it's ridiculous. What era is this, you ask? There are two world-threatening monsters out there right now, even with tens of thousands of dead soldiers. A time when the government didn't fire missiles either. It's clear that we all know who the source of the virus is. We know that the human race is going to die out at this rate. But you're still trying to bite the dog under false pretenses. This is a time when the government is looking at the people for profit. Maybe that's okay in peacetime, but this is a special time, and we have to use special methods. So, I declare, you are also infected with the steel virus. At this point, a soldier came in to report. After she learned that Zirin had easily slaughtered 25,000 of his own soldiers, he disappeared. And Shanying's back teeth were about to explode in anger. Shot the president's body several times. She couldn't calm down until she ran out of bullets. The Kimchi soldier is frozen in place, too scared to breathe. Calm down. And Shanying had soldiers secretly dispose of the bodies of the president and the Secretary General, and told the soldiers to use satellites to find Zirin's location no matter what, and have the soldiers check all officers for steel infection. Her goal was to make the officers subservient to her. If they don't, she'll execute them for the virus. She then silently looks to the president's seat, step by step, walking up to that, the highest point of the power. Kimchi country's defense minister guns down president. Then he shot the Secretary General to death, and step by step, she rose to the highest point of power in the Kimchi kingdom. And she did it because she had a brain tumor, and was just as arrogant as his father, thinking he could get rid of the two monsters that threatened the world. She wants to make herself a savior before she dies, blooming herself with the deaths of Zirin and Ajin, forge a history of her own. Even if the cost is human life, she'll let herself die as a hero, ostensibly for the sake of mankind. Behind the scenes, it's deep human selfishness and hypocrisy. After some time, the sky was dark and cloudy. The oppressive atmosphere has left the city without its usual hustle and bustle. The army is escorting the presidential vehicle as it speeds down the highway. And in that car is In Shanying. She's going to Congress to canvass officials and execute all officials who disobeyed her on the grounds that they had been infected with a virus. And Zirin, who disappeared after slaughtering 25,000 kimchi soldiers. He's hiding from the rain in a cave with Ajin, and Ajin is thinking about the kimchi soldiers who died because of her. She wonders if she did the right thing by surviving. I was the one who misunderstood Ajin before and called her a saintly mother when she dared to shoot herself, the moment she saved all of humanity with her own life. I realized she was really kind, but Zirin brings out the survivalist in her. At this point, she's extremely conflicted. She doesn't know what's right and what's wrong. Zirin told her to wait here for a moment. He went to find food, but Ajin raises his gun and points it at Zirin. She doesn't want Zirin to kill again because of her, but she realizes that a pistol won't kill Zirin, and so she makes her initial choice again. So the three of them are in stark contrast. An angel who would give up his life to save the world, a demon who would destroy the world for her. And the other, she is an ugly human who would rather push her compatriots into the abyss of hell to satisfy her selfish desires. Zirin's size is really annoying. It feels like it's all going to grow a brain. Your death will only accelerate my progress in destroying the human race, but you're still alive to keep the human race alive for a while. At this point, Ajin wonders why Zirin has become so cold after regaining his memory, and there's no human emotion in the killing. She wants to know what happened to Zirin before she lost her memory. Why this hatred of humans? And this question hits a sore spot in Zirin's heart. It hurts so much. You ask me why I hate humans? The reason is simple. Because I know more about humans than anyone else. I've lived hundreds of millions of years as different species. I'd be in a different position of thinking about human beings. I see the ugliness and selfishness of human nature. Humanity has only itself in its heart. But I also see some human warmth. It makes me uncontrollably like that feeling. And makes me feel happy. But I'm always betrayed when I get that happiness. Ajin can't understand what the other guy is saying. At this point Zirin decides to tell her all about his reincarnation experience. Let Ajin experience what he did from a human perspective. Is it right or wrong? I don't know how long it's been. Zirin finally finishes her story. The heavy rain outside seems to symbolize his mood. Ajin can't believe that Zirin's experience could be so tragic. She understands that Zirin's experience can no longer be viewed through the lens of human morality, because the cause of all this is human. The rain is over. Ajin, who hasn't closed his eyes for days, has fallen asleep in the cave, and her consciousness is controlled by steel for the time being. It says to Zirin, I guess I did the right thing by parasitizing this woman. You won't kill me as long as I'm inside her. And that's when Zirin's eyes took on a murderous aura. He warns Steel, if you dare to completely erode Ajin's consciousness, I will make your life a living hell. But Steel changed the subject. I heard your reincarnation story. You and I share the same goal. Why don't we join forces and exterminate the human race? After I kill all the humans, I'll leave this woman's body. And yet Zirin says, you're lying. Steel thought to himself, he's got him. Is my acting that bad? But what Zirin just said was a scam on Steel. Seeing that Steel didn't say anything, thought it was really lying. You're not going to leave Ajin's body at all, are you? This little trick of exploitation and betrayal is exactly like the human race. Steel, you make me sick. Zirin's eyes make Steel wince. Can't stop the sweat from running wild. It rushes to say that it means what it says and isn't lying, but Zirin no longer cares about his truthfulness. He wouldn't mind having a helpers in the extermination of the human race. Zirin tells Ajin about his reincarnation. After listening to his story, she seems to understand Zirin's mood for killing, but Zirin has no intention of stopping his slaughter of humans, and said that he too had loved humans deeply, on the side of the humans. Loyalty to and protection of mankind. Even the moment you were killed by your master, I'm convinced the master didn't mean it, until this kind of thing happens over and over again, cruelly taking my eyes. Tortured and bruised all over, the human figure became more and more evil in my head. They used my life to fulfill their sick minds. It's starting to numb me to life, and that's the evil of mankind. Zirin is done talking about it. Ajin says, what if it was all the other way around? Why can't you see the good side of humanity? Don't you still have me and Jia in your story? And the kindly hunter and his old mother? And the woman who fought the whole world for you? Your mom? And how are you now different from the humans who hurt you? You have also killed many innocent lives. Those innocent deaths might as well have been all they were to someone. But then Zirin says, so what? What you call the good side of humanity, they're all just nice to their own kind. That left Ajin speechless. She realizes she has no right to accuse Zirin, but can't let Zirin kill again. And then the two did not speak again. This is no longer good or bad. You can only look at who is right and who is wrong from different standpoints. Ajin asked. As long as I live, humans get to live a little longer, right? Zirin nods affirmatively. Now Steel is parasitizing me. I, too, have become what humans call a monster. Let's go far away together, to a place where no one can bother us, where no one will die. Just the two of us living a life of shame, living like Adam and Eve. Zirin is overwhelmed by Ajin's sudden revelation of his true feelings. He asks Ajin, "Why do you seem to be confessing to me?" But Ajin replied, "That's what I meant." She already likes Zirin without realizing it. This statement makes Zirin's entire being unsettled. It was as if the big shy boy had returned. Look at Ajin's face. Zirin's blushing like a monkey's but, "Oi oi! Why are you blushing, you idiot?" Ajin asked him, "Don't you want to be with me?" Shy Zirin's mouth inked halfway before he said, "I do." After some time, the night is dark. Ajin in the cave goes to sleep early. Zirin, single for billions of years, looks at Ajin's face. He was even fantasizing about living happily with Ajin in the future. However, in real life, humans have always liked to dance wildly on the edge of death, accelerating the pace of humanity's demise. He then began to talk to himself. Blushing like a monkey's ass, he whispers, "I like you," but it's Steel who takes over Ajin's consciousness at this point. It asks, "Who do you like?" This makes Zirin lose interest. It's back to being cold and frigid in one fell swoop. Steel also sees Zirin smile for the first time. It makes it very unhappy. It went over to question Zirin. "You don't forget your pact to destroy the world just to fall in love, do you?" He saw that Zirin was guilty and didn't speak. Steel drove Ajin's body closer and closer to Zirin. Watching Ajin getting closer and closer, Zirin gulps uncontrollably. Suddenly, he kisses him. At this point, Steel's heart must have looked like this. It's over. Zirin kissed Ajin when she was just waking up. What's worse is that Ajin is still awake, and it's Steel who's controlling her body right now. As a single-cell virus and genderless, Steel is now numb. He has no idea what mouth-to-mouth means to a human, but it's a strange, wonderful feeling. It gives you a feeling of spring. Steel thinks to himself, "It's over, I'm not clean anymore. I'm completely sullied by this kid." But the next second Steel is holding Zirin's head down. "Steel, you're not going to lose your grip so soon, are you?" So Steel suddenly woke up. Recall that it had been trying to infest Zirin's body with viral cells before that. But no matter what, the virus couldn't get into him. It's like there's a mysterious force inside him that's keeping it out. But now it seems to be able to enter that door. Steel wouldn't let go of such a great opportunity, forcibly using Zirin's mouth to deliver the virus to him. "I'll take this body of yours. I will be invincible." But Zirin suddenly grinned. Steel instantly feels a powerful aura of danger. It is so startled that it immediately lets go of Zirin's mouth and takes a few steps backward. It questions Zirin, "What the hell did you do?" It turns out Zirin didn't do it to take advantage of Ajin. He was trying to save Ajin by purifying her of Steel cells. But this method also makes Zirin himself feel bad, only to see that his hand has been eroded away by Steel cells. But the next second, Zirin's self-healing ability purges the virus. Steel sees Zirin in action. A tingle runs through his scalp, but there is one thing that Zirin doesn't understand. Steel, if he had just held on a little longer, might actually be able to invade his body. "Why did you suddenly stop?" But Steel gave a simple reason. It had just been born and was afraid of death. Any risk and it'll want to run, unlike Zirin, who has unlimited life. Numb to life, Steel then stated, "Zirin is not worth risking his life to save Ajin," and it promised to leave this woman's body after it destroys the human race. So when exactly are we going to fulfill our promise? Exterminate the human race. Facing Steel's aggression, Zirin turns her head and ignores it. Steel doesn't understand what's going on in Zirin's mind. Is it destruction or redemption? Zirin then makes it clear that his attitude is one of destruction. But before that, Ajin must be kept safe, and that will be the end of humanity. And in the parliamentary session of the Kimchi Nation, the floor is littered with corpses. Only a few officials survive because they support Enshannying. The officials who didn't support her were executed on the grounds that they were infected with a virus. And Enshannying through the bloody suppression of. She became the acting president of the Kimchi Nation as a matter of course, and she reported to the global news media. Now affected by the Steel virus, 2,500 deaths in Pickle Nation. Kimchi soldiers had even more than 130,000 casualties. And the culprit for all of this was a being that modern science can't even begin to explain the definition of. Two beings that threaten the world. One is Steel's host, Ajin. One is Lee Zirin, a monster with unknown powers. And Enshannying emphasizes loudly, for the sake of the world, calling on all the major countries to come together to support the Kimchi Nation. As acting president, she assured the nation of Kimchi, she will use any means necessary to wipe out these two world-threatening beings. And Zirin now carries the sleeping Ajin on her back as she searches for a place of peace that will protect her. This life as a human feels strange to him. For hundreds of millions of years he had lived aimlessly. There is no desire to struggle to survive. But this life is different. There's a certain desire that drives him. What is that desire? Zirin doesn't know either, just starting to look forward to it more and more. The man has just kissed a woman, and then he takes her to an uninhabited island to live a life of shame. Ajin asks Zirin where she is, but Zirin doesn't know where it is either. At Ajin's confused look, Zirin draws a map in the sand, and polka dot to show we're here. Ajin looks shocked. I didn't realize that Zirin had brought herself into the waters of the north, a rival nation to Kimchi, and in the Kimchi kingdom, and Shanying has completed his dictatorship over the Kimchi kingdom. Countless nationals chanted outside the presidential palace, against the dictatorship of the Shanying military regime, and inside the presidential palace. Staff report to Shanying. It's been 7 months. There's no location or any information on Zirin or Ajin. He's trying to say something else, but Shanying suddenly slaps the table and curses. You're a bunch of losers. The staff continues to report. Now Country M issued a statement. The first case of steel virus infection occurred in the country of Kimchi. They demanded that Kimchi take full responsibility for the steel virus and compensate Country M for its economic losses caused by the virus. Yes, it's Country M. And Shanying had to face the voices of opposition from the people as soon as he came to power. And international problems, a series of unfavorable factors weighing her down. And over on the uninhabited island, it's not looking good either. Suddenly, I hear Ajin's wailing in the sky. It's too tight in there. Zirin, don't use so much force. No, Zirin. So soon you can't suppress the animal in you? So it was Ajin who complained about Zirin's clumsiness. Can't even make a hammock. I'll let you use a little force. I'm not asking you to just rip the rope off with your freakish strength. I don't know how you've survived this long. You don't have the ability to take care of yourself. All you do is steal and kill? Facing Ajin's round of output, Zirin is boarded up, going in one ear and out the other. Ajin sighs and curses himself. I regret agreeing to live on an uninhabited island. And Zirin is speechless at this point. Wasn't it you who suggested coming to live on no man's land? Ajin reprimands Zirin. Why are you standing there? Come and help me. Zirin's eyes suddenly glow a gleaming blue and he clenches his teeth. The result is a knot in the rope that gets stuck in his hand. Ajin is completely speechless. I'm so depressed. 1 hour has passed. The two have finally finished the hammock. Ajin lies down comfortably for a moment. She sighs. If only there was beer now. Zirin says he'll get it, but Ajin stops him. Are you going to steal it again? Also, what are you stealing that pile of appliances for? There's no electricity in this hellhole. Can I take it that's your bride price for me? But a beer would be fine. She urges Zirin not to kill anyone, and to return quickly. Zirin then transforms into an ICBM and flies out to steal the beer. The two cozy up to a hot pot at night, drinking beer, enjoying the sea breeze, telling each other's stories, sleeping in separate beds late at night. Ajin falls asleep and Steel begins to wake up. It thinks to itself, what is it now? Though it saved its own life because of this woman, but it was also because of this woman that she and Zirin delayed their plans to destroy humanity. Steel is secretly plotting. It plans to infect the world with its own virus, using manipulative abilities to control the consciousness of people around the globe. That's when start a world war, let mankind destroy itself in internecine warfare. But then Ajin woke up from his nap. She knew exactly what Steel was thinking. Steel froze in his tracks. Ajin covered Steel's infected eyes the next second. You single-cell virus, give me a break. At this point, Steel is in complete shock. How did this woman manage to suppress my consciousness? Steel can't believe it. This woman's body is adapting to its viral cells. Steel is fighting back, tries to seize control of her body, but fails anyway. Ajin calmly said, this body is mine. You go back to slumbering. If you try anything else, I'll kill myself. Let's die together. Steel knew this crazy woman would actually do what she said she would do. Steel, who is greedy for life and afraid of death, is completely helpless. At this point, Kimchi's domestic intelligence used several radar satellites. They searched for 3 days without finding those two world-threatening beings. It's giving the entire staff a headache. Feel like growing brain. The leader told his men to keep looking. He himself goes to report to Inshanin, but in the next moment, his men's eyes glowed red. It turns out that he's been taken over by Steel's virus, but the surprising thing is, it wasn't Steel who controlled the man's consciousness. It's Ajin. She's now getting the hang of Steel's manipulation. Infiltrated intelligence services around the world, covering up her own and Zirin's tracks. Not only that, she marvels at Steel's awesome powers. She can sense that the virus has spread to all corners of the world, forming a giant neural network. It's clear that she's interconnected with the world. As long as the virus continues to expand, she might actually do what Steel said, become a godlike being. No one will ever hurt Zirin's heart again. I will guard him from now on. Steel has become Ajin's tool. Poor Steel. At this moment, inside prison 15 in the North Country, a guard has been cleanly murdered. There was no struggle before death. The head guard saw the scene and said calmly, "It looks like that guy broke out of jail." Outside the prison at the moment, a 17-year-old girl named Yuzi is running for her life. Though she's young, but she was someone who was trained as a top assassination agent by the North, and it was Yuzi who just killed the guard. She fled all the way to a village. She met her uncle. Uncle is curious as to how Yuzi came to be here, but Yuzi asks, "Where's mommy?" It turns out that Yuzi escaped when she found out what happened to her mom. Then the uncle fell silent. His eyes are filled with sadness. Then the uncle took her to the river. Yuzi was on her knees, trembling and crying. Mom didn't even have a grave when she died. She asked her uncle, "Was Mom in pain before she died?" Uncle says she went very peacefully. It's like she's asleep. It was your mom's idea to throw the ashes in the river. Yuzi got some comfort after listening. Uncle asked her what her plans were for the future. Is it to go back and turn herself in? Yuzi says she killed 3 guards before coming here herself. If I go back, I'll just get shot. I'm not just a defector now. I'm a defector who committed murder. Now I can only escape to live in a place without human beings. Uncle sighed deeply at that. He told Yuzi to be careful on the road. At night, Zirin and Ajin cozy up to grilled fish. A day of swimming in the water. Yuzi, finally arriving at the uninhabited island, stares in disbelief at the scene before her. What's going on here? Why is there a little couple here, and fucking eating grilled fish? And the two of Ajin are also dumbfounded. Why is there a kid in the water? Could it be a daughter sent to us from heaven? Yuzi thought to himself in order not to reveal his whereabouts. Fortunately, just 2. So she took out her dagger and tried to kill Zirin and Ajin. Sorry, guys. Today you must die. It's your bad luck that's to blame. In front of her, one is Steel Jinchuriki, who can manipulate all living things. The other is an embodiment of the Earth's consciousness that possesses the power of all things in nature. Yuzi didn't forget to be handsome before doing it, spinning the dagger and holding it in his hand to humiliate his opponent. Ajin is completely confused at this point. She was about to ask her what she was doing, and Yuzi rushes up there at breakneck speed. Just as the dagger was about to cut Ajin, confused Zirin pulled her back. Watching Zirin appear out of nowhere, Yuzi is shocked and takes a few steps back. Ajin questioned what the hell was wrong with her. I was going to let you die comfortably. You made me do it. After saying that, Yuzi rushed up again. Zirin tells Ajin to back off a bit. I'll take care of this. Ajin instructed Zirin to be careful not to kill her. She's still just a child. Yuzi yells, suffer death. But the next second, a big slap appears right in front of her eyes. If you don't learn well at a young age, you will kill people at every turn. What? Who are you trying to kill? Yuzi frantically stabs Zirin in the arm, kicking Zirin in the stomach to use the force to quickly pull back. At this point, she's completely dumbfounded. She had just stabbed him a few times. But why isn't his arm hurt? What the hell is going on here? At this point, Yuzi felt that the man in front of him had some power. Ajin stops them. Stop fighting. Do you have some kind of misunderstanding? Yuzi thought this was just a normal couple, but combined with this man's skills, what kind of couple is stupid enough to come to an uninhabited island? So you must be spies from Kimchi? The two of them were speechless at this statement. Yuzi then rushed forward once more with her dagger. Zirin sighed deeply. I thought I was stupid enough on my own, but there are actually people dumber than myself. And so he walked slowly towards Yuzi, but Yuzi maneuvers around Zirin's back with ease. Zirin was shocked. She's been practicing this move for at least 2.5 years, right? Yuzi shouted, don't move, threatened Zirin. If you take one step forward, this woman's life will be in danger. Zirin's eyes have changed back to their usual deathly indifference. He asks Ajin, do I still have to hold back from killing in this situation? Zirin's scent is causing Yuzi to feel a strong fear of death. Meanwhile, Ajin scratches Yuzi's arm, allowing Steel's viral cells to invade her. Yuzi feels a stabbing pain before it's too late. The hand has released Ajin's neck uncontrollably. The eyes have become vacant. Yuzi finds it impossible to control his body, and Ajin reprimands her. You have to be polite. What woman? You should call me sister, understand? And Yuzi looks at them in horror. What the hell is wrong with these two? They're monsters. Then she turns to Zirin and reprimands him. You don't really want to kill her, do you? She's just a child. You can't be this cold-blooded. In the face of Ajin's preaching, Zirin is impatiently going in one ear and out the other, and Yuzi just kneels dumbfounded. She looked at the two men with fear in her eyes. She has no idea why she can't control her body. She whispers a question. What the hell have you done to me? With those words, they remembered that there was someone else here. They looked at her with dead fish eye. Turns out Ajin just cut her arm. The steel virus has invaded her body, taking control of her body. Ajin's head feels big at this point. I don't want to kill her, but I can't bear to kick her out. Are we going to have to live with 3 people from now on? Zirin was dumbfounded when she heard this. Immediately and angrily, he disagrees. Didn't we agree that it would be just the 2 of us living a life of shame? Just as Ajin asked him what to do then, Yuzi suddenly yells, "Kill me. I will never give in to you and beg for mercy." These words silenced the air once again, and so, the 3 of them looked at each other with wide eyes. Zirin is the first to break the ice. He voices his approval of her idea, kill her, but Ajin just told him to shut up. She looks at the Yuzi under her control and sighs. Steel's powers are so useful. And then she sighed deeply. To Yuzi, she said, "You're very brave. I can kill you with the flick of a finger. So are you ready?" But Yuzi still won't say a word. She'd rather die than give in. Ajin says, "I'm going to count down to 3 and kill you if you don't back out." But Ajin was just about to open his mouth to count. Yuzi begged for mercy. "Don't kill me. I'll do anything you want." After hearing her answer, Ajin then smiles in relief. That's right. Yuzi stares at the woman blankly, feeling her intense goodwill, warmed like an angel. Zirin, however, looks impatient. "I thought you were really brave, but you're a coward." And inside North Country 15, the guards report to the director. The case of Yuzi's escape will be taken over by the National Intelligence Agency DSS. The director is curious. What could Yuzi have done that would alert the Department of Security and the 3 people whose misunderstandings were cleared up on the uninhabited island? Yuzi tells his story to the 2 men. She was locked up because she made some mistakes. And then she escaped. But then I ran into you 2 monsters. And then Ajin said to her, "What is your crime?" To be able to put a minor child in jail. Yuzi confessed. She was a teenage agent in the north. One mission was to escort a geological researcher. She accidentally disclosed classified information about the researcher. Yuzi then rattles off a series of years. "Listen to the years," she says. Zirin looks confused, but Ajin, who was a researcher, got a chill down his spine when he heard it. That's when a volcano erupts. Yuzi was also jailed for revealing the year of the volcano's imminent eruption, and at this time, within the intelligence service of the Kimchi Nation, a person not infected by the steel virus finally used the satellites to locate the 2 monsters that could threaten the world. The staff yells. They're on an uninhabited island in the North Sea. 1 hour later, an old commander inside the North Kingdom's military headquarters is watching a video of Zirin slaughtering humans. He can't believe such a monster exists in the world. And Shanine is on a video call with him. She says, "The 2 monsters that can threaten the world are within your waters." However, the old man didn't believe the video at all, and Shanine asked him why he didn't trust himself. "Because you staged a coup to take the presidency. Aren't you trying to create a common enemy of mankind to change people's attention?" This statement instantly rendered Shanine speechless. She told the old man to watch his mouth. But the old man doesn't give her any face at all and continues, "Since the source of the monster and the zombie virus is on the island in our sea area, Kimchi will have to pay for the damages to the north." And Shanine froze when he heard this. The old man asks her, "What's so surprising? If what you say is true, we in the north have also been affected by the zombie virus. Something went wrong and you still want to use us to get rid of that monster. Shouldn't we be compensated?" Yet Shanine said with a cold face, "As long as you open up your waters, no need to lend your hands. My turret army will get rid of those 2 monsters." The old man bellowed, "Bullshit. How can my family's territory let enemy soldiers in? You might as well just declare war." And Shanine wanted to say something else. The old man shuts down the video call. He exclaims, "Video effects are awesome nowadays. It's just like the real thing." He thinks Zirin and Ajin are nothing more than spies for the Kimchi, and had his men send the 649 assassination unit to kill the 3 on the island. The old man didn't realize that his decision had hastened the end of humanity. A day has passed. Yuzi says he has nowhere else to go. "If they catch us, we'll be shot." She remembered what her mom said, "Survive no matter what." Hearing this, Zirin remembers her mother, who said the same thing. Zirin can feel what Yuzi is feeling right now, and felt compassion for her. As Yuzi wept and missed her mother, Zirin sensed something coming from the sea. He puts his hand in the water and triggers the dolphin's sonic abilities to survey the situation. Zirin can sense them approaching. A total of 48 heavily armed men are on their way. When Yuzi heard that, he thought they were coming to arrest her. She yelled, "I'm dead. In my capacity as, whoever's coming for me must be assassination agents." Zirin, tell her to be quiet. I'll guard your mom's word. Yuzi knows Zirin is strong, but there's a lot of people on the other side. You're wrong. You have no idea how strong I am. At this point, Yuzi thought to himself, this guy is a fucking braggart. Zirin sneers, as long as I'm around, there is no one in the world who can kill you on this island. You're going to honor your mother's words, stay alive. Human beings are supposed to be able to live on this earth. But because of their blind confidence and arrogance, once again, they're pushing themselves into the depths of hell. At this moment, Zirin is ready to go on a killing spree. Ajin, I know you don't like me doing this, but for me, whenever someone I care about is in danger, you know, no one can stop me. Ajin understands, Zirin is trying to protect herself and Yuzi, and so she nodded, signaling that Zirin could do it. You're asking to be killed. 6 kayaks are approaching the uninhabited island. The people on board are surprised by what they see. Zirin is seen on one knee, touching the water. The other guy thought he was going to surrender, but the next second, the waters begin to stir. The sea, move with the rhythm of my thoughts. Yuzi looked at the scene in disbelief. She asks Zirin what exactly she did. How was it done? Can't you see it? It's very simple. I just made the water form a couple of whirlpools. That way no ship can reach the island. At this moment Yuzi realized, the man in front of me is not ordinary strong, he has power beyond human comprehension. And within the North's military headquarters, the old man commander, unaware of the battle at the front line, is still sipping his tea. A soldier came in to report. 649 Assassination Force mission failed. Only one man left alive. The only soldier left alive is in the infirmary. Already delirious with fear, muttering, it's true, that guy really looks like he did in the video. He's a monster. When he calms down, the old commander asked him what had happened. When he think of the picture, the soldier is once again in a state of deep fear. It took a long time to say that the creature seemed to be able to control the sea. The old man who heard this looked at the soldier's expression. The old commander has to believe that this is reality. Back inside the conference room, he watches a video of Zirin slaughtering humans. He thinks for a long time. Then let's do an airstrike. Let's turn that place into a sea of fire. However, his order for an airstrike was learned by those infected with the steel virus behind him. This time they'll come from the air. At this Yuzi is yelling and screaming, I'm going to die. It's over. Zirin pushes her away and tells her to be quiet. The best eyesight in the world. Ostrich eyes. Fighter 1 has spotted the target island, requesting fire. Holy shit. What the fuck is this? He can fly. The frigate bird's terminal velocity. Humans, die. The old commander's face turned extremely ugly when he learned that the airstrike force was completely wiped out. If that's the case, prepare for biochemical weapons. We must defend the North's honor no matter what. The largest wing, albatross. The air is much clearer now. The soldier yells, suddenly there's a typhoon coming. Biochemical attack failed. Get me some long-range missiles. However, Zirin has been transformed into a human turret. Strongest power, Argent Dragon power. Soldier comes to report with a frustrated look on his face. Another failure. The old man is now forced to recognize reality. He puts on his military hat and says something meaningful. Am I really getting old? Is there really no way for our country to eradicate that monster? Looks like it's time for me to meet with Mr. President. Let him ask for support from the mighty East. The old commander of the North is not giving in. Before help arrives, he's going to use the entire country to try and destroy that monster. Ajin wants to control mosquitoes, spreading the steel virus to all the Northlanders, but it's too slow to spread through this route, and it's not easy to implement, though it can be sensed to have infected most people. But the farther away from me, the weaker Steel's ability to manipulate the line becomes, and that's when Steel finally woke up. It keeps compelling Ajin. Humans are so greedy. If you want to control more people, then you should give something. If we keep this up, that kid's only gonna kill more people. He's just trying to protect you, but you could have prevented this senseless casualty. Just give me control of your body. At this point Yuzi is constantly carrying rubble to Zirin. He's throwing rubble at ships and fighters. A fighter escaped the horrific debris attack. Die, monster. Zirin was going to have a little fun with these ants, but clearly these molehills have become a threat to the people he cares about. Fighting for protection is exhausting. Gradually Zirin's patience reaches its limit. Within the government of the Dragon Kingdom, a request for military support has been received from the North, but the Dragon Kingdom has always been neutral. They follow the principle of no offense, no foul. At this point, Dragon Kingdom has decided to wait and see what happens. If that monster does become a threat to the planet, let's wait until then. After Zirin tackles a wave of fighters the humans are proud of, a new wave of fighters and warships appear over the sea. The smoke and mirrors of war are already making it hard for Yuzi and Ajin to breathe. Zirin sighs. Humans are really too one-dimensional in their attacks, but against the endless human weapons of war at sea, though he can destroy them, but now there are people to protect, so he can't just let go and fight. The reason why humans have conquered the world and become the top predator being, it's because humans can use tools as they please, and they have a whole language system that other creatures don't have, and the innate evil of the human race, playing recklessly with other beings. But the most important reason is, nothing in the world can be hostile to humans out of nowhere, they just want to protect the only place they have to live. However, as long as humans have some power, they will destroy nature with impunity. Infinite expansion of human territory. If you humans keep this up, I'm going to show you how hostile nature is to you humans. At the moment, Steel is compelling Ajin. Letting her give it her body will stop the killing, but Ajin knows Steel's meanness. Once control of the body is surrendered, that will be the true end of mankind. At this point, Zirin sticks out his thumb. He keeps muttering something under his breath. He transmits his thoughts to nature. Nature, if you hate mankind, heed my call. Fight with me against mankind. Fight on to survive. Just as Yuzi and Ajin feel a moment of despair, a loud noise catches their attention. Humans, suffer the wrath of nature, suffer nature's hatred if you will. He just sticks out his thumb like a god, summoning the spirits of nature to fight with him. Birds of the air, fish in the sea, all at this moment at Zirin's beck and call, fight. When Zirin was little, he always sat alone in the corner, alone, watching his peers play happily, and his mom therefore asked him, "Why don't you play with the kids? You can't make friends if you're such a loner." But Zirin is as cold and unresponsive as ever, because in his hundreds of millions of years of memories, he finds this behavior childish. But to his mom, this kid is just arrogant, too embarrassed to play with his buddies. Then she takes Zirin's hand and plays Tower of Hands, and yells, "Kids, who wants to play a game with us?" Zirin, too, seems to understand the human word for friend at this moment, and he now makes the same gesture, to make friends of all the creatures of nature that hate mankind. Join him in the fight against mankind. Fight with him. Nature, fight and resist. The only way to live is to fight. The ship's captain is now stunned by the sight. He's seeing schools of fish and birds passing through the human ships. The fish were flowing wildly through the water. It's creating several whirlpools in the sea for the ships to crash into each other. The birds flew straight at the fighters without flinching. Fuck! Fuck! The beings are launching suicide attacks on the humans, hitting the fighter like a cannonball. And what is it about Zirin that makes these creatures willing to give their lives to fight for him? The reason is simple, because when Zirin transmits his intentions to nature, let them see the world under human rule, how the creatures have suffered. Birds have lost their freedom to fly the skies in human cages. Sharks have lost their fins. It becomes a delicacy on the human plate. And all Zirin did was ignite nature's rage against mankind, to make all creatures realize that the natural enemy of everything in the world is your human race. And within individual governments, leaders look at the live feed in front of them. It's unbelievable. At the same time, Northland released the live feed to all parts of the world, on a crowded street, in a fast-moving subway. Once again, it's a worldwide sensation. Once again, all eyes and topics of conversation were focused on the monster. On an uninhabited island, Yuzi's eyes are fixed on a missile. She's wondering if she's dreaming. Under normal circumstances, she would have been blown up herself. But this man actually crushed the missile with his bare hands. This outrageous operation movie does not dare to shoot like this. Gradually, Yuzi is beginning to accept the absurd reality of the world. Then Zirin raises his right hand. And once again, he spread his thoughts over nature. 500 miles in the sky. Deep sea 500 miles. Follow my call. Just then Zirin suddenly froze. Someone in the depths of the ocean seems to be responding to him. Zirin is curious as to who it is. Next, he smiles a long-lost smile. "You're still alive. Old friend. Why are you here? Shouldn't you be in Northern Europe?" "Well, in that case, you also contribute your strength." And that's when a new human offensive struck again. The captain was just about to call for all hands to fire when he saw a shocking sight. Something very large has suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea, blocking out the sun. It seemed to block the light of hope for mankind. An aura of despair enveloped their vision. It's a creature that should be in legends. That's a creature from Norse mythology. The Kraken, the giant demon of the North Sea. Humans are as small as ants in front of them. You humans think you know everything about the world. Destroy everything, Kraken. Mankind's proud war machine, now destroyed like a toy by the Kraken's massive body, the wreckage of countless fighters and warships are gradually drowning in the sea. Countless human corpses floating in the water have dyed the clear waters into a sea of blood. Since then, the island has been named Blood Island. Humans always thought they were the masters of the earth. But at this moment they know, the world is not as simple as they thought. They feel the wrath of nature. They don't know. How many more of these horrible creatures are there in this world? Jiejia, who hasn't appeared in a long time, is watching the video of No Man's Land in a coffee shop. She's worried about Zirin and Ajin's safety. And inside the presidential palace of the Kimchi Nation, a staff member reports to Inshanin. A message from the UN. The uninhabited island in the north is officially named Blood Island. And Shanin exclaims, "That's a very simple name, a veritable island of blood." After the staff report back and leave, and Shanin's nose is gradually bleeding. Her brain tumor is getting worse. She was naive enough to think that she could erase the monster on her own, but she now realizes, there's no one in the world who can take on that monster. After a while, the war on No Man's Land has stopped. Ajin and Yuzi have fallen asleep at some point. Zirin, on the other hand, is sitting on her knees, preventing the humans from attacking again. Steel, inside Ajin, exclaims, "This place is like Hell Island." Zirin is stronger than he thinks. He is stronger than its abilities in every aspect. I want his body. But I can't get it anyway. And that guy seems to be less interested in destroying the human race now. He's all about protecting the people he cares about. In the beginning, I was going to use this woman to irritate him, accelerating the extinction of the human race, but the problem is this woman seems to be eating its power. It's too suffocating. There's no escape. I can't fight him. I don't know what the point of my existence is if this keeps up. At that moment, Zirin and Steel are suddenly startled. Suddenly sat up. Steel thinks something interesting is about to happen. He'd like to see how Zirin would make his choice. Will he let the planet be destroyed or will he save it? The thing about this that shocks Zirin and Steel is, the secret that Yuzi leaked earlier, that volcano that was about to erupt. That's Mtibektu on the northern border. A volcano that's been building up for hundreds of years. It finally erupted at this moment. A soldier in the North Kingdom's military headquarters urgently reported, something bad has happened. The old commander asked him, what is the big deal that can be bigger than what happened on Blood Island? The volcano at Whitehead Mountain has erupted. The old commander listens. I wonder if it's Alzheimer's. He seems unusually calm, but after 2.5 seconds, he suddenly realized something was wrong. It's in People's Square. Due to the eruption of Whitehead Mountain, the stone statue of their leader began to tremble unceasingly. The ground began to shake with it. They're about to face the horror of the apocalypse. Hundreds of years of dormancy in the Whitehead Mountains. It's a moment of catharsis. In the subway station, everyone's cell phone received a message in unison. It's a disaster warning message. After a while, the catastrophe has swept through Seoul in the Kimchi Nation. The earth has begun to crumble. Black ash covers the sky. The city is gradually falling into darkness. And before that, an emergency meeting has been called in the Kimchi State House. Kimchi expert says, due to natural disasters such as earthquakes and tsunamis caused by volcanic eruptions, caused the scorched earth of the northern lands. Disaster has also affected our nation. The estimated amount of damage is about 5 trillion kimchi coins. But the biggest trouble at hand is not the economic losses, it's the ash. Experts point out, volcanic ash will be in Ryanggang Province and South Hamgyong Province in North, and North Hamgyong Province in these 3 areas, resulting in a large number of casualties. A scientific calculation was then made by experts. The ash will follow the winds to Sakura Nation. But unfortunately, I don't know what's shifted the winds recently. And Shanin immediately realized it was because of Blood Island. Before the North attacked Blood Island with a biological weapon, but the monster used a force unknown to mankind to change the direction of the wind. The expert continues, due to the change in wind direction, volcanic ash will be like this, turning around and reaching Seoul in Kimchi country. The whole room is shocked, and Shanin didn't realize it would be so serious. Even her own location is on the path of volcanic ash. It looks like Kimchi Nation is doomed. After a while, Ajin, who has just woken up in the Blood Island, wakes up with a start. After a second of confusion, looking at the bright moonlight, she asks Zirin, is the human attack over? Yes, it's over. Hearing this, Ajin breathes a long sigh of relief. It's finally over. But suddenly she has a headache. She learns through Steel's ability to manipulate risk. A series of natural disasters triggered by the eruption of the Whitehead Mountains. The entire northern kingdom was nearly destroyed. Countless people died in this disaster. Watching the sleeping Yuzi, Ajin doesn't know how to tell her. Her village is being decimated. She closes her eyes again, surveying the North Country village with line manipulation abilities. She can't believe it. A single volcanic eruption nearly destroyed the entire Northern Kingdom. Suddenly her eyes snapped open and she cried out, "No good, we need to get out of here. Volcanic ash is coming our way." "No, it's not. It's not coming this way. It's targeting Seoul." Ajin didn't react for a moment, but the next second she was shocked beyond belief, because there's someone important to her still there. Jia. Yes, at this rate she'll be in danger there. Just as Ajin is about to ask Zirin if he'll try to save her, a massive figure obscures the moonlight. It's the Kraken of the North Sea surfacing. Zirin looks at this huge old friend, one step towards the sea. "In countless lifetimes, I've spent a lot of time with you. I miss it and look forward to the next time I see you. My old friend, but now you have to get out of here, because these waters are no place for you." And that's when the Kraken let out a loud bang. Seems to ask Zirin what's next. "Me? I'm going to save a friend." Ajin looks at Zirin with disbelief. The words save and friend actually came out of his mouth, though it's not the first time I've heard him say such things. But this time it's different from the past. Words can tell a lot about a person's values. In this moment, Ajin thinks Zirin exists as a human. He seems to have real human emotions, and that's when Yuzi woke up in a daze. In her blurred vision, she saw a huge monster. Suddenly jolted awake, she exclaimed, "What a big octopus!" Zirin looks at her like she's stupid. Ask her if she's sleep-deprived. Confused for a second, Yuzi remembers, it was this octopus that stopped the human attack. Zirin then goes on to describe the eruption of MT Whitehead and he tells Yuzi that he's going to Seoul to save Jia. Yuzi is extremely shocked to hear that the volcano erupted, even though she knew the volcano was about to erupt. "I didn't think it would come so soon." Yuzi is surprised and asks how Zirin is going to save the day. That's a natural disaster. But the next second she reacted. Anything is possible for this guy. Yuzi asked him how to get to Seoul. Zirin told her to keep an eye out. Zirin then uses the power of nature to make the sea begin to stir. But within seconds, the sea is calm again. Zirin suddenly froze, wondering what was going on. Yuzi asks what the hell he's doing. Is he posing? And that's when Steel noticed something. Then Zirin raises his left hand to call upon the power of the wind. But the sky is quiet. What the hell is going on here? My powers seem to be fading. Boy has all creature abilities. Knocked out a grown man with a single punch. He also has the power of nature to manipulate it. The meaning of my existence. It's to destroy mankind, and now he's going against his original intent, trying to save a human friend, but unfortunately, at this point, his powers are fading. Steel noticed Zirin's strangeness from the sidelines. Ajin asks him, is it due to recent overwork that he is unable to use his powers? But the next moment she's on her knees with a splitting headache. It feels like her head is exploding. That's Steel inside Ajin doing something. Facing Zirin, who is temporarily incapacitated, it realizes that the one person who could threaten it is gone. And that means it's got a chance to fight back. Steel is trying his best to devour Ajin's consciousness. Ajin is about to lose consciousness. She says weakly, "Run." In the end, Ajin's consciousness was eroded by Steel. Control of the body was also taken over by it. "You're a virus." Before Zirin can finish his sentence, Yuzi kicks him in the air. It turns out that Yuzi is now under Steel's control. "It seems you've forgotten the purpose of your existence. Like me, you were originally the judge of mankind. All vermin on Earth should be punished. That's human beings, but you seem to have been abandoned by that mysterious force. And mortals like you now. I don't have to look you in the eye anymore." When Steel is done, he has Yuzi attack Zirin. Zirin evolved the cat's eyes to avoid Yuzi's attack flexibly. Just as Zirin tries to counterattack, his bioevolutionary powers are starting to fail him. Then Yuzi punched him in the face. Oops! The invincible Lee Zirin is in such a sorry state. Can't even beat a little girl. "You really disappoint me. That means you're completely useless. So please go to hell." After saying that, a huge figure obscured the moonlight. The Kraken senses a threat to Zirin's life. After it surfaced it made a loud bang. The smug Steel has completely forgotten that Zirin has a big octopus friend with him. "Looks like I'm going to get slapped into a pulp now." "Stop it!" Steel asks Zirin if he won't regret doing this. "To protect your friends, you missed the best opportunity to kill your enemies. Thanks to you, Yuzi, Ajin, and I were able to survive." Then Steel changed his mind. "Let Zirin be human. Watch how I destroy the human race step by step." It's early morning. Yuzi has regained consciousness. Can't remember a thing about what happened last night. She looks around for Ajin. She asks Zirin, "Where did the woman go?" "She's gone." Zirin doesn't understand exactly why her powers are gone. Thinking back on what Steel said, Zirin wonders if she's really forgotten the point of her existence. But one thing is certain, he still hates humans, but it's also humans he's trying to protect. Zirin doesn't understand what's wrong with him. While Zirin was struggling, a human corpse floats to shore. The stench of rotting corpses. It makes Zirin gag and vomit. After vomiting, Zirin realizes there's a human craft in the air. His pupils constricted. He knew if he was attacked now he'd die. He turned sharply and yelled, "Run!" The human attack is back, but Yuzi is unfazed and tells him to calm down. It's just a human drone. It won't attack. A calm Zirin breathes a long sigh of relief. He realizes that the way he sees things has changed. That familiar feeling of dread. It feels like there's danger in every direction. He's like prey in someone's eyes right now. The feeling of being watched by a predator hiding in the shadows. And that's when Yuzi asks him what he's gonna do. But Zirin doesn't know what to do next. "I'm incapacitated now. What else can I do?" Yuzi doesn't understand what's going on with Zirin, but the man in front of him is acting like a very unreliable human. Although the enemy has stopped attacking, but one day they'll attack again. Staying with him is a death sentence. But Yuzi recalls the scene where Gaia protected herself before. She grits her teeth and makes a decision, tugs Zirin by the collar and curses angrily, "You little piece of trash. Pull yourself together. Don't you have friends to save? Even if you lose your powers. How do you know the result if you don't try? And, didn't you say that you would guard that woman's promise for the rest of her life?" A flurry of output gradually wakes Zirin up with curses. At this point, a pile of poop hits Yuzi's head, interrupting her output. She rubs her head and looks to the sky, realizes it's a pile of bird shit. At this point, a flock of seagulls keeps circling above them, and that's when Zirin realizes he hasn't lost everything. "Even if I've lost everything, I still have my friends in nature." The latest episode of this manga is one of the most enjoyable I've ever seen. That kimchi country that always likes to steal other people's history and culture. It's time for the fireworks. Before that, due to an earthquake triggered by the eruption of Mt. Shiritu, Seoul, 500 kilometers away, was also hit by a weak earthquake. The disaster didn't end when the earthquake did. Black volcanic ash covers the skies over the entire country of kimchi, and in the coffee shop, Jia listens to the social news broadcast. People are reminded to stay home and not to go out. If you do go out, you must wear a gas mask or a face mask. Jia looks out at the sky. There's sadness in her eyes. "I don't know when the world will ever be the same again." Even under these dire circumstances, there are still countless kimchi people demonstrating on the outskirts of the mayor's mansion, chanting slogans against the violent dictatorship of Anshanyan, demanding that she step down. Anshanyan in the mansion looks at the group of unruly people who oppose her and sighs. "What a bunch of assholes." Anshanyan asks his subordinate, "Is that monsterly Zirin still struggling on Blood Island?" The gate was suddenly opened. Someone broke in. Her subordinate's eyes are glowing red and his body is stiff and under control. "I'll answer your question for him. Lee Zirin is no longer in Blood Island, but is coming here. But he can't make a lot of waves right now." And Shanyan's pupils immediately showed fear when he saw the visitor. She doesn't know how Ajin got here. Steel to be exact. Steel completely ignores her look of surprise. Strutting towards the highest point of power in the land of kimchi, sitting in the position of village chief, enjoying the feeling of power. This is where the destruction of the human race begins. And Shanyan, "I want you to be my puppet." After a while, the world's largest decision-making organization, the Global Village Federation, immediately convened an emergency world conference. A total of 197 villages participated. This meeting was about the nearest island, Blood Island. Appearance of unknown ancient creatures, volcanic eruption, Lee Zirin, a monster man with unknown powers, and a statement that Anshanyan announced to the world not long ago. Kimchi Village will invade the North Village to take over their village by force. Reunification of the North and South villages, and announced the withdrawal of Pickle Village from the Earth Village Federation organization, and a series of meetings to discuss and make decisions. Once the Anshanyan have waged war on the North Village, as Kitamura's accomplice, the Hairy Bear Village, and the most powerful in the world, the mysterious Dragon Village, will not stand idly by. Once Kimchi Village starts a war, the world will be in a state of high tension. It may lead to a world village war. There was a lot of talk in the meeting. Why does this fart of a kimchi village dare to be so arrogant? Is there support from M Village behind this? There are even more skeptics. Are all the top brass in Pickle Village being manipulated by Steel's virus? Someone agrees with him right away. Maybe one of us is being manipulated by Steel. There's been a lot of talk about this. They're wondering if they're being controlled. At this point one of the men said, "We have no choice. We have to use force to stop them. And it doesn't look easy. Consider the events of Blood Island. Lee Ziren was originally from Kimchi. It's quite possible that Lee Ziren's invasion of Blood Island was planned by the Pickle Village. The goal is to weaken the North Village, so that Kimchi Village can realize its plan to unify the North and South villages. This speculation has caused a ruckus in the meeting. The chairman of the meeting called for silence. The chairman of the meeting called for a vote to determine the outcome of the meeting. 180 villages out of 197 are in favor. Many of them were manipulated by Steel. And then the chairman of the meeting announced, if Kimchi Village crosses the Duck River and invades North Village to wage war, the Earth Village Federation Organization for the sake of peace on Earth will use all means of force to stop Kimchi Village. Under Gwangwoman Square in Kimchi Village, Seoul, people have gathered to demonstrate. Demonstrators were shouting frantically, "No to war. Isn't Shanyon crazy? This will only make us the enemy of the world." And yet, with a national outcry against it, Kimchi Village, controlled by Steel, dispatched countless war weapons. Numerous warships are on standby in the Yak River. Attack. With Shanyon's attack, the Terran Federation has also given instructions. Concentrated missile bombardment as originally voted. Target, Kimchi Village. Just when it mocks humans, Steel looks at Ajin's body in the mirror. Its maniacal smile disappears instantly. And with that, Steel made a strange move. Looking at Ajin's face in the mirror, he thought for a long time. It sighed, this woman is really interesting. And Shanyon, who was previously manipulated by Steel into waging war, she's vomiting in the bathroom right now. Her brain tumor is getting worse. That's when Steel appeared behind her with Shanyon's journal, mocking the contents of Shanyon's diary. To eliminate the two monsters Lee Ziren and Steel by any means in the existing life. Make yourself a savior, make yourself famous for the rest of history. Steel laments that she's really daydreaming. Then with a smile on her face she asks, "Hear that? Do you feel it? The explosions and the vibrations outside, and the opening moments of human death. Facing the monster in front of us, and Shanyon is scared to death." Then Steel stroked her head to soothe her. "You can't be the savior. Now the whole world thinks you're guilty of starting a world war, but you have nothing to fear. No one will remember this, because all the world's human beings will perish. The city is devastated after a missile bombardment. Human remains are crushed in the rubble. The child who miraculously survived. The shouts are echoing across the sky. The smell of gunpowder from the explosion. The smell of blood and despair envelopes the city." Jia in a coffee shop. The radio continues to broadcast a bombing alert. People are urged to evacuate or take shelter in underground parking lots and bomb shelters. Jia doesn't remember when. She feels like she's in a nightmare world every day. Has completely lost all sense of reality about the world. Under this air of despair, Jia seems to have no hope of survival. Perhaps this is her own destiny. An SUV pulls up in front of the coffee shop. Jia is curious as to who it is. This should be the next blast site. Aren't we all rushing to evacuate now? Wang in Jiajia's arms senses a familiar scent coming in. Jiajia follows Wang's gaze. She was shocked. Countless flocks of birds fly through the air. Jiajia looks at the birds in the sky and sees hope. What the hell is that? Is that an angel? Brother Eagle, let me down right here. Ziren's appearance is always so awesome every time he saves the day. And yet now, what happens when he tries to be cool without superpowers is, he falls on his ass. Jia thought it was the appearance of an angel. Turns out a big idiot came. Wang jumped out of Jiajia's arms, running straight at Ziren. Ziren tells Wang not to worry and says he's fine. A recovering Jiajia asks Ziren if he's okay. The SUV outside the door honks impatiently. So it's Yuzi in the car. At this moment, Ziren stood up while touching his aching head and said, "Jia, you come with me. I'm here to save you." The moment Jia saw Ziren, the tears have stopped flowing down his face. She leaned on Ziren's arms and cried loudly. It's a way of letting out the emotions that have been weighing you down for so long. Steel in the defense building senses Ziren's arrival. Steel looked at himself in the mirror and thought for a long time, wondering if he's been parasitizing humans for a reason. He seems to have human emotions. It was a sense of hatred, flashbacks to the previous parasitization of Chief Anchor and being mercilessly tortured by Ziren. Steel doesn't want Ziren to die so easily. Instead, he wants to torture him to death. I'll give him back what he's suffered. then used manipulation powers, gave a command to the commander of the fighters that were bombing the city. All fighters stop bombing. I repeat, stop bombing. The pilots don't understand how the mission was suddenly stopped. But he's just going to do what he's told. And that's when Zirin and the others were fleeing the bombing zone in their cars. I have to say that Yuzi's skills in driving a big car at a young age are as stable as an old dog. Jia in the car is eagerly inquiring about Ajin's whereabouts. Zirin apparently doesn't know either, but says he'll get her back. But the problem is, even if we know where Ajin is, Zirin also understands. His current self is incapable of fighting the steel inside Ajin. The main goal right now is to escape this place alive. Go to Blood Island where the Kraken is located. And then, I don't know what to do, but I have to get back my lost powers to do it. Yuzi, who was driving, was surprised. 8 kimchi soldiers set up a barricade to block the entrance to the tunnel. The soldiers are firing their guns without identifying the visitors. Yuzi yells, "Get down!" Shoot without identifying who it is. Yuzi realizes they're being manipulated by steel. Under heavy enemy fire, Zirin raises his hand to activate biotic awareness. Countless flocks of birds quickly fly into aid in the battle. Through the power of manipulation, seeing the scene, Steel sits down completely. He can't believe Zirin isn't completely incapacitated. Steel decides to make Zirin's escape more difficult. The battle must be fought quickly to end it. There's no other reason. It's afraid of Zirin's resilience. Zirin in the car hears a roar. A fighter jet is rapidly heading his way. The missile has locked onto the vehicle. Yuzi's yelling at us to get out of the car. A violent explosion gives Zirin a headache, looking up for a split second to see a shocking sight. In the midst of a bird siege, they're desperately trying to protect one of them from being disturbed. And he's aiming for Yuzi. Why don't he just aim for Zirin? Because Steel knows Zirin's only weakness, and that's guarding the people he cares about. Zirin took the bullet with his body. Blood gradually stains the ground. Returning to his senses, Yuzi rushes forward and flips Zirin over onto his back. With Yuzi yelling at the top of his lungs not to die, Zirin's vision grows blurry. Once again, that familiar and unfamiliar feeling comes over me. It's the feeling of having experienced countless, the feeling of death. But he understands that death in this life is the end of all reincarnation, and that means death will never be reborn. For the former Zirin, eternal death had been a luxury. But now Zirin hates the feeling of death, because in this life, he has all the things that he didn't have in his previous life. The meaning of existence. I'm not willing to die like this. I want to live. What is death? After Zirin takes a bullet for Yuzi and goes down, Jia and Yuzi keep crying out Zirin's name. Then they were controlled by kimchi soldiers, and raised his gun on the fallen Zirin, confirming that he's actually dead. Looking at the motionless Zirin on the ground, Jia is already in tears. Can't believe this is happening. And Steel looks back with enjoyment at the image of Zirin's death. It laments that without Zirin no one can threaten its existence anymore. Suddenly her body trembles. On the dark side her eyes have been uncontrollably tearing up. That is the consciousness of the original owner of this body sleeping in the depths. Ajin's tears over Zirin's death. Back to the tunnel entrance, the pickle soldiers have all but finished the flock, and put Zirin's body in a coffin. In an image full of darkness heralding death, the thread of life, the symbol of the miracle, pulsates again. Death seems to be an ordinary end of life for mankind. But for Zirin, death is but the beginning of a new cycle, beginning with a single-celled life form, through the long ages of time, until now human life forms. He's been through so much, he doesn't understand why he has to go through the cycle. Why did God give me this godlike power? And why did I lose that power? What kind of being am I? Such a question had been in Zirin's mind until this very moment. Is it human, or is it the all-human inquisitor that Steel talks about? So if I am the judge of mankind, humans are indeed hateful. It has taken my life countless times, but my behavior over the years doesn't seem to be judgmental, but rather vengeance. A selfish revenge killing, from the idea of exterminating the human race, to Steel mouthing Zirin, "You've fallen. Now you're mercifully protective of humans." Protect humanity? No, it's not. They're just people I care about. That's probably a contradiction. For the first time, as a human, I have human emotions. I'm a coward and an introvert. Fear of losing that hard-won love. There was a time when I wished to be loved. But now I have to walk out of this paradoxical human life, recognize myself, reclaiming the new life. Now I know. Having experienced the objective judgment of all life forms in endless reincarnation, I was forced to choose from a certain will, and I felt the power. It's coming back. Feeling Ziren's breath of life, Steel instantly pales. The coffin in the car begins to shake incessantly. Yuzi, who was sad, gradually starts to get excited. The man who always brings hope in the midst of despair. He's back. At the end of the endless cycle, he's finally found it. The answer he's been looking for. Ziren, who died as a human, has been resurrected. He finally found the answer to the endless cycle of life and death. He realized what he had sensed as a child about the end of the cycle of reincarnation. In this life, death is not the end of the eternal cycle of life. It is the end of the cycle of species. After death, he won't be reborn as another creature. He will continue to exist as a human being. He will continue to write his own story as Lee Ziren. It's also clear, he seemed to have a close connection to this planet. In this infinite cycle of life and death, inheriting the unique abilities of all reincarnated beings, it can even control the natural elements of the planet. He seems to be more of a carrier of all the consciousness of the planet. So much so, that in the volcanic eruption that killed so many people, the Earth went into a brief period of weakness as if it were sick and disconnected from itself, letting itself lose that natural ability for a short time. Steel in the defense building has a headache. Things are moving out of his control, that which can threaten its existence. Lee Ziren, resurrected. Steel uses manipulation to control the consciousness of the pickle soldier, ordering all personnel to concentrate on shooting Lee Ziren. Ziren just lets the bullets hit him on his own, pondering the meaning of the Inquisitor in Steel's mouth. These humans before us are innocent, and they were innocent then, too. All this time Ziren has felt entitled to be able to decide whether humans live or die. But that was all just an excuse to rationalize his angry revenge killings. So, I'm sorry. Ziren, who's not moving, suddenly makes a move. The kimchi soldiers who couldn't control their bodies all thought they were going to die. Really? I'm sorry. After the smoke from the impact explosion, all the kimchi soldiers can't believe they're still alive. And that deathly figure has no intention of pursuing. Everyone in the room has no idea what Ziren is thinking. At this point Ziren's hands are shaking unconsciously. It feels a bit forced to exercise strenuously without a fully repaired body. Steel in the distance is already sweating profusely from the shock. She senses that Ziren seems stronger than ever. She'd like to see how Ziren would hold up in the next scene. There's a roar in the air. It caught everyone's attention. It's the roar of war. He wipes his nosebleed. Having experienced all forms of life, he sees the world in a different light, but never with a human perspective. The world seems to have a miraculous ability to maintain its equilibrium. Ziren has always felt that the existence of humans was a mistake that upset the balance. At first Ziren thought the point of his existence was to eliminate that mistake, to return the world to the way it was. It's an arrogant idea that's above the human race. But this life, Ziren, who experienced human existence to death, seeing the world from a human perspective for the first time, got a different idea. The wrongs of this world. It's me. But the so-called balance, judgment, someone's will. It's all nonsense in front of Ziren. He decided to stop letting these thoughts define his existence. The reason for my existence is up to me. I exist for your sake. I miss you. I want. Hug you. And then Steel angrily orders the whole army to fire. So, I'm really sorry. The people who blocked me. Please get out of my way. In order to respect the rights of the creators, this is the end of my video. The original manhwa is finished. Manhwa is better than my recap. Please go to the original site to watch it. Thank you for your love.